to 70, 100, huh? Oh well. It's gonna get me to 75. What's up, YouTube man? Lucky Dragon's Nest, part of my book. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If a bullet could not languish and conquer. Hither equals over there, to or toward this place. Thither equals over there, opposite place of hither. Enterth equals enter. ACHH we equals bellowing Scottish. In it equals isn't it. Chapter 1, Proprietor of the British Nerd Fight Club. 4 words, respect the baguette, the shape and purpose, bakers are not infinite. Magic has always been elaborate, hidden, magic is quantifiable, magic makes us apex predators. Historian bodybuilder James had a beautiful black body, unmistakably British, shining as the deepest onyx, chiseled in a conscious way, shone with light of stars and polished with the detergent of reason. Like the night without the stars and constellations, abyss without an answer.
Do you guys like eating cottage cheese for protein? Let's see, 1.7 grams of saturated fat. Could be worse, 10 grams of protein.
Like the night without the stars and constellations, abyss without an answer. Black elephants with a dark sun on a canvas of terrible reflection. Black as the minds of royal usurpers, poignant, disillusional, planning and secret spite spiffing insane, oh dear. Black as painted black Van to black, well actually maybe there were hues of grey and crispy. He was a man who struggled being vegan versus eating meat. Not all steaks are mistakes, going back between interesting diets, guided by social media feelers, just right in looks, scrupulousness and convinced to the tolerant core.
I guess I used to buy cottage cheese with low fat, and they have like different versions of that. They have low fat and even low, really low fat, you know. It doesn't taste very good.
He was a man who struggled being vegan versus eating meat. Not all steaks are mistakes, going back between interesting diets, guided by social media feelers, just right in looks, scrupulousness and convinced to the tolerant core. And promises, the ribs were drooping and stooping, Mexican food was terrible with soy, the pizza had ribs too, ribs everywhere. He said stuff like, 80% vegan is healthy, it is as reasonable as everyone should eat, ideal base food, considerate for the animals, except those that die and for the environment. He was 80% vegan, a terrible vegan now, a conceited vegan he called himself or contemporary vegan. Morally killing 0 animals per year makes a lot of sense, like skipping.
Also like pro-pod pudding to get my protein, and just drinking a liter of soy milk, which is 37 grams of protein. Unless they have more beans, you can get like 50 grams of protein like that. Bean protein.
He was 80% vegan, a terrible vegan now, a conceited vegan he called himself or contemporary vegan. Morally killing 0 animals per year makes a lot of sense, like skipping red velvet cake. Never risk holy cake. He had no excuses and confined eating to being tasty. There were points minus for heavy metals, longevity and bacteria. It was natural for jaguars to eat meat to survive, motivating killing in their philosophy. Now we do it to die earlier, like falling out of a glass frame into the woodchucker of metabolic diets. It's even minus for depression and mental health. The jaguars licked their spotted butts and were so content being a bigger part of the machination. Mostly vegans dissuade meat for the animals through. Maybe he should have argued with a sheep, boar-headed exterior or high-class person. How he would struggle against meat and machination. Being 2.2 meters tall and 150 kilos of anatomical, functional, dormant changing muscle gave him gigantic legs and in extension shins like heads too, because after reasonable tall lengths, it's only the legs that grow thus, but he did not look like a frog either, or a cyclist no matter the front teeth of purveyors or stiff upper lip. A view that is presumed and yet surprising, a confined set yet new at every angle. He had the endurance and ease for exaggerated unfair physical work. Broad, thus like a tall brawn unit you don't expect to face in challenge. Playing the odds, there's always a bigger barbarian, a peaky blindness, a bigger arm like honest disappointment. But he was an abstract reserved thinker contemporary, relative to the reverse entropy tension of a grand uneven structure and true. Rectangular glasses without frames looked teachy with his brown autumn coat. In contemporary London were allowed and audacious. The glasses could have made him look a legendary nerd if he was just an attorney or skinny doctor. Contemporary designer umbrella, black and white striped tailor-made suit, considering having sleeves up, which statistically is very sexy. He could be quiet, listening and stuck in the inside, far long enough for people think he wasn't extroverted. He would listen and wonder, fantasize about people automatically. He tried to have solitude. People leave when they like to, can't rely on other.
I'm sorry animals have to die for me at all. It's too bad, right? Terrible prison conditions. So it's too bad, you know, this delicacy beer sausage makes me happy, you know. At least I'm 80% of them, at least I'm 80-90% vegetarian myself.
He tried to have solitude. People leave when they like to, can't rely on other people to be happy, fleeting smiles and chuckles in insecurity about stupid jokes. There is no certainty in persona for persons, in the flip side of fate. And there is so much time to gather brains, to analyze, create and create
I'm sorry, I can't be better these days.
There is no certainty in persona for persons, in the flip side of fate. And there is so much time to gather brains, to analyze, create and create strength in solitude. Solitude in introspection, analysis or worst, sedating darkness, planning a comeback and dreaming in your potential, a tear for denial of things that passed. The darkness hummed of commitment and performance. He had waited for a good life, a history of bad mental health, and life kept unfair like sickness. With waiting things turned into solitude, working away with biceps curls clearing his mind, in shades of grey, creative time, sketching, writing and reading. No one could distract him away from his growth. Easily dissuaded into his habit of feeling grey and dissociating. He had been grey with life except when performing, feeling like things never were as they should be, not a brother to Fortuna the contemporary fairy or Fate the arrogant and piercing. This sounds like depression really, not being connected as much as he would have liked, waiting for his time, moving to a new city just meant existing alone. Oh well. James was a social whirlwind for new friends maybe, to be brotherly.
Look at this, my book right now, there's 500 pages. I just need to, it's like it's done, right? I can publish this, maybe I can write some more cohesive sense to things, put things together some places with many new small ambitious parts. It's just never ending, pretty much. I did tie together the Purple Elves, Crystal Elves chapter very quickly, and you don't notice that I done it quickly, but
James was a social whirlwind for new friends
so.
maybe, to be brotherly, drunk and silly, connecting with a martini and then another one, playing things out automatically in his mind, borderline social yet common as fantasizing. There is a point to the images and imaginary world between people. Uniting commonly was the population of lonely people and those with one friend too little, considering when will I find a partner, when will I find a partner again, where is my partner? People didn't understand his poetry really, his music was...
Yeah, it's like, I woke up a little bit early because I was drifting away, sleep an hour here and there in the noon. I woke up at 8, I woke up at 10, I slept a little more. Sleep schedule reset, feels fantastic again. I am a morning person after all, and I do prefer it, despite being whatever. I like to get up at 7, even on weekends and stuff.
People didn't understand his poetry really, his music was too niche and stereotyped maybe. Like not allowed to be quiet, to move in the wind, he was like someone strange to analyze in the street, taking his hat off, his story was not told immediately. He stood out being tall, in awe people were they not a fan? He had a rumor of being appreciated, or not wanted. His quirks and over-the-top intellectualism was tolerated like it was nothing too offensive, or it was in all ways wrong, threatening and not putting in effort at the right moments, ridiculous.
You know who have a horrible time in the meat industry though? Birds. They have it even worse. They're so stressed they're pecking each other, so they cut off their beak instead.
He stood out being tall, in awe people were they not a fan? He had a rumor of being appreciated, or not wanted. His quirks and over-the-top intellectualism was tolerated like it was nothing too offensive, or it was in all ways wrong, threatening and not putting in effort at the right moments, ridiculous. Or offensive, or not in phase with people being threatened and kissing ass or playing weak when people wanted to, all through making yourself seem weaker to break ice is a strategy with intellectual roots, or emotional intelligence, must be only feeler personalities who do this. There is hypocrisy and stupid positions people could get for no reason, thought James, so does everyone. I could do it better, analyst personalities usually say about management positions. They are uncomfortable doing grunt work furthest down, like everyone, or implementing their own ideas, practically. Competence is a contemporary thing and people usually did another position, responsibility stupid like the first one. Everyone sees how someone is terrible at a position, how they could it better, sometimes explaining very well. Expertise is a lot like intelligence and anyone can be, it's in the benefits of being unique. Things solve themselves sometimes, there's a pushing to being neutral, then analyzing.
Listen to this crux.
Twist 3. He never cared for drinking coffee and tea, except for iced coffee, which he drank like water, copiously. Everything changed like a chapter, but not yet, where one evening after hot medieval games he heard someone sniggering in his computer corner thus. There was nothing there. It seems he was being sent incredibly suggestive Gachi Muchi songs. There goes another one. Something was just too ridiculous to keep a straight face. Specifically trying to communicate, what is this you're listening to, human? The London people in this neon light London night had no idea what would happen. What's the Jimmy? Did Santa fill your Christmas sock with propane? Cough, retching cough. Thank you, Father, Jimmy said with the voice of a mesmerized adult. Revealed in silly overtime, James stretched out his hand into his thus apartment nothingness and felt temperature difference, cold, something wet, suction and stretching of his mind. Things changed as he stuck around. That could only mean aliens. Deducted panicky James, they must be serious sternly as per needed basis, but this through sensitivity the too ridiculous for the paid work thus. Advanced civilization through technology, carefree world where we toil in despair and worry, we must not know that everything can be so toil-free and dandy, pointless struggles for energy and politics, technology advances pretty quick with just 1,000 years through for anyone, or ourselves. More sensitive and smarter than your imagination, James used his imagination. He had read about the most common alien encounters on Wikipedia and thus imagined the Scandinavian-looking alien, a cousin to humans, with multiple eyewitnesses being terrible at parking his spaceship, concerned with spiritual paths. James realized just thinking about summoning aliens, and summoning, chanting annoying should be enough. James had been scientifically open to aliens because of the prominence of 1,000 planets with life conditions like Earth. The four thinker personalities believe in aliens the most. Look at the pollution they exert into the atmosphere seen through color gas cameras. Pollution and oil are civilizational, but what do you do now when you actually meet one now? What be thine alien, grey, homunculus, Scandinavian cousin? Stop sending out shuttles looking for life, we're right here, I admit it. James thought, can you think what I think, and then said it. And feel what you feel, Jim human version. Revealed, thus alien looked like a mix of grey and something taller 3 meters forsooth. There was width and longer limbs, connected intimidation and speed of predators. Did you figure out time travel yet? Countering with poshness, James was ready to have a pleasant, well-mannered conversation. It only works with special fashionable Alpha Centauri hamsters, thus digitally put through non-AMD graphics cards. Where do you put the cable? The ear. I knew it wasn't AMD, James was so smart. Just recently, the humorless voice answered, it was unexpectedly difficult, like learning a new language, difficult, like being unable to master. Time, space, dimension, machine and spiritual opening at the same time, not a lot of people thought of that. It can't happen to me, and let me guess, you cannot show thus. No human unit, think of 5 reasons why.
I have a package
Do you know
of
Yoda?
live meat.
He told me to get my cock stuck in an elevator, go to the highest floor. I am one of the smartest humans. Unexpectedly he said, very well, nice job, human. It seemed he put on some alien dance floor, or it was only drum and bass really. He started stomping his feet and dancing, arms not really moving above his waist. James noticed he was rather fat. Damn it, Bernard, this is not the time to party, may I call you Bernard? He stopped looking at him like, what's the problem? Maybe he sensed some kind of thought. The neighbors won't appreciate you stomping down the floor, you have triple toes and standing on toes like a speed predator. The neighbors have been neutralized, now we continue. The alien went crazy and James danced like contemporary, considerate, he was smart thus, he was ready to have a relationship to this point. I wonder if the alien noticed. What about pollution balance, population? Shut up, you're going too far, human. James was surprised, there was already time to step carefully, maybe he was talking about the wrong thing. How far can things go insulting an alien? Unexpectedly and tiresome, James pulled out a peculiar gun he never used. Why did he think about it? If you threaten me, you will always think to rectify the situation, think diplomatically, you will come to compensate, think up new ideas, but smart boy, you will never be smart enough to figure it out. I wish there was a time where a bullet didn't win against every duel, thus
like
and everything,
this.
the accuracy
Bullets.
wins. I shall win. There is no skill, no time to think, the cool things now is the size of the firearm and based on perceived results. I wish there was a time of plated knights, feudal samurai or limited weapons in mixed martial arts, foldable chairs, bows and Morningstar, another siege of Edinburgh Castle. He was ready to threaten, and ready to shoot. The weakness of an alien close ranged should be a weapon, just like a point-blank bow against a cuirass. The alien man dodged like morphing, swirling through a dash, cheating through the human technology. The alien took his wrist, coldly threatened, and he was indeed pulled through a cascade of time and colors. There seemed to be a tornado of hamsters spinning in opposite directions, but it felt like his feet were still on the ground. His standalone cans of iced coffee were rotating, paper bags of iced coffee were emptying. He had been transported to medieval London 1,000 years ago. He was ostracized with a katana adachi and 18 bullets in a time of arbalest and warhammers, blood and ice, wine and piss.
500
What would the
Ironman
value be
soon.
of 18 one-shots like an electric wizard, 18 jewels of fate, 18 times to show off being from the future and convincing of the magic, like a prodigy? Chapter 2, Living in the Past with Intent, Imagination. James really had a strong ass. It was a breathing living block. You could see Chapter 3, Dragon's Nest. One morning a giant bumblebee 10 times 10 centimeters wide woke James on his face. AARGG. It said hello and buzzed on, defying science. Come hither thus, said Oswald, James and Porpoise, brain and brawn, muscle and shield, defensive prowess, specialist and balanced I think, James. He led them into a more wooden mystic tavern dimly lit and damp like night Caribbean. He sat him down at a round whiskey-smelling table amongst a varied legendary group, looking into each of them with a story. They stood still, but their aura told of successful adventure. He took a grog unnecessarily straight from a wide half-looked-through bottle and proclaimed, I'd like to go on a quest, to include you in a quest. Hello lad, said a dwarf with an iron-horned noseguard helmet overhead. You could see his chainmail under blue dragon leather, protected not to be seen from his enemy. There's a 2x2 shaped castle with 4 entrances called Dragon's Nest in the ever-dark charred, grilled woods. It's the grandest castle or building you've ever seen. It goes so far west it changes climate. It's deadly as a necromancer on his deathbed, horrors dark, spiders giant. Stocks of orcs, obeying their master, unlucky dragon rooms, abyss and catacombs. The catacombs go on further, you won't complain the map is too small. If you're in the catacombs without Ariana's thread you will never be found, said the dwarf. Apparitions and foggy memories, you won't know who you are except pain and not comprehending. And thought of the past to remember to keep going, into the mouth of insanity. But there's treasure, gleaming unlimited in the center, a 50-meter treasure room guarded by a magical super metal dragon. It is alien like an unexpressive celebrity and power to adapt your mind to. There's magical items and chests random outside the dragon's center as well, rooms moving and shifting. It was built by a mad necromancer in his last counted 10 years. So they say, it's literally got no basis, legend from a myth. We're a party of 38 that's heading into all entrances, it will prevent the castle from cheating they say. You fit right, you're interesting, rich, dependable.
What do you think
They
about
had a
this?
polearm knight with 2 large gear that looked like Brad Pitt. Oswald saw him looking at him. He is as ready for this quest as anyone. What about the Seers, James? Porpoise whispered on point. Seers Foggy can wait just as they are old. I would like to capitalize on this opportunity hither. Promise I'll get it done through, after I visit the mountain elf Seer maybe, just like him trying to learn to play proper guitar. Just turn down the guitar. You must spend 10,000 hours on it, at least it will divide into bass. Does it, gent? Said James. He still knew enough to make a band. Don't procrastinate. It's not like that. We shall need perfect defense as well, he said friendly and reached out his hand, trusting him to do his, if he would not be a coward. Meet the barbarian Gregor the Roach. He has a temper that turns him into a jewel monster, better not argue too much. He has a spear double-tipped and goes berserk with mead and poisonous bitter mushrooms. He might be the only one that can 1v1 these beasts in the dark and abyss of beholders, contemporary greed. We will ride his power into smooth victory. James and Gregor looked at each other muscly and didn't speak. The barbarian was bearing animal skins with heads. He had a red fish's beard and primitive obsidian sunglasses with a fish's red beard. Good you got no rabbit on there, said James. Why did he say this? I'm the merciful one where I'm from, known for my patience and guile, he said spitting, like words were afraid, weak in the knees, sheep tumbling down a hill. They didn't need to speak more. Anyway, do we get a salary from this? We're all hired, gathered by Oswald. You get the glory and status as a Dragon's Nest raider, next time we do it with worse gear or locked.
Man, I'm so smart. Yeah, I figured out that shot, kick shot is, has heard this book before, seen this book before 1-2 years ago. I don't know when it was like 100 pages maybe, I don't know, it's really cool.
You get the glory and status as a Dragon's Nest raider, next time we do it with worse gear or locked to air magic. They can be very resistant. It's not a problem until it comes, said Porpoise. Gregor liked James' muscles, he looked like a real barbarian. James thought Gregor would be pliant and agreeable, too logical and reasonable. Thinkers overexpect stupid people to be logical at all. There are recurring fountains and dormant wells, diminishing results. Use them when you have to, you might be full health for sure when encountering. But I want to spend health on riches. There are many curses and negatives in Dragon's Nest. Generally a curse ruins everything. There are Uncown amulet looming with poison and burning grip, insanity fettering and delusions. There is a path from Dragon's Nest into the wilderness, but no one has ever found it. I bet it's in the catacombs. Most of the rooms have been identified, but they are shifting. A rainbow of dragons exists instinctually and giant. There's a way to manipulate the useless items we have, turn them into fuel and defense, because they're technically items affected by transform all, smelt all. Synergy between nothing. Relatively untargetable. Curses can be rid of. Do we need a wizard? A wizard is required, said Oswald, despite low strength. We might want to include Yensid James, said Porpoise meekly like a surprising moon. We have a sponsor almost as rich as a troll. He wants 15% of the share, wizard. Did he include teleport crystals? And scrolls of fireball, chain lightning? Do we have any to London? Yes, it's the capital, isn't it? Easy to use are these green smoke and fire one-timers here. Oswald handed James 3 thus. We have also Osgarth, the female tank warrior. She was almost as tall as James, fat and sturdy. As much fat showed as steel, she had straight black hair, wide lips and was wide as tall. Laros, a goblin meerkat. He was cute and had giant ears and large eyes. Dark voice of someone cocky and analyzing. NTP thought himself. Said the truth poorly clothed. The things other thought but didn't dare to say. He would have loved to be smarter and thought everyone liked him. 3 dwarves with 5 eyes. I got my good eye on you, said the Scottish Cyclops. All dwarves are Scottish. Scottish people are immune to vampire bites. I wish that all hamsters would die, said the cleric. And finally a supremely armored and holy cleric. He was so tanky he didn't restore his health, through danger and grit. He had the Bible is copyrighted, in his left hand, gleaming sentinel and a slit for armored vision. He knows black magic as well, Like blood magic, Christianity was the religion of the time, but he was more religious than Christian. He was smoldering with his moralizing, they were unjust. He wanted to share his Christian positive benefits, save them, but mostly he choked on his intolerance. I hope you get an arrow in the knee. You can't say that. When you fall down the stairs and hit the table, I want to be there. I'll be your muscle and brains, said James, shaking most of their hands in reach. The dragon will be golden embarrassed and treasure contemporary taken. There's a dedicated healer role that will give us penalties and benefits, but mostly benefits. I can be a tank too, said Clement. The pros started strategizing. Yeah, no, said Oswald, but you can invest in personal tankiness. There's a choice to take 40% less physical damage, 50% less ranged and straight up 25% less damage on top of that, but you do 20% less healing. What if we need to fight the dragon, answered Clement. You're never going to fight the dragon with me, said Oswald. Yes, we need your skill, but never fighting the dragon. It's unbeatable if you're a person, said Oswald. That's the problem, said Laos. Unless we need to invest into a healer that does tankiness into offense, blood priest. We're veterans so we can choose meat shield role. I'm not, said James. Only 2 have to be. Plus 400% max health, can't buy into resistance, taking damage can heal others in an aura, minus half dodge, benefits to not dodging an attack. We have confused opportunist that benefits and changes ? Rooms. It's a lot like Drunk's Potion Master that gets potions much more frequently, but they're different amounts of alcohol. It gives the ability to make potions from junk and rarity, but only in combat. You will dance around the enemies, spilling rats' tails. I'll take it, said Laos. You can have a drink before leave, Laos. I'm doing this because I'm interested, I'm done abusing guards. Do you want me to say you have a short statue? I accept your drink, where is it? Class bodybuilder, makes steak as healthy as medicine, makes you feel golden and not tired from meat. Ranged roll makes you take 20% more elemental damage for plus 20% ranged damage. How is that worth it? People still pick it. We have generalist, which makes you tanky in defense and offense bonuses while being outnumbered, stacking base damage, modes of revenge, ferocity in the moment. There is daredevil or speedrunner, take 20% more damage, traps deal 13% more damage stacking, thus 25% more loot, 40% more outside the treasure chamber. This is really interesting, said Porpoise. I'll take it because I am king of defense and dodging. Don't complain when you die. Specialist enhances poisons and damage over time even from fire and gives you the ability to cleanse poison and blight. People like to go for a build that ends up healing from poison and fight toxic shareholders and boyfriends, no downside. There is also the baker, which gives healing on certain foods but dies to small town. No damage run roll makes you take 45% less damage from the first hit of something, but then 45% more from each hit after. 1 minute cooldown. I'll shoulder the burden and take ass, said James. Take names, you mean? The asses will be unstoppable. Sniper gives you 30% more damage over a certain range. It's a lot like ranged roll. Isn't it close rooms? Some enemies run away with the loot intentionally. You have to snipe them. No, not all rooms are close quarters. You might get very invested in loot or gear. Dangerous difficulties makes for more rewarding sets and crazy powerful forms, until you die from a puzzle. Let's buy all the ostensible shields we can, blocking 1 instance of damage or 25 for damage over time stuff. They're common and with limited health or defense, let's stack them. And use them all on a boss. If that's what it takes, so be it. The path of least begets. What? Sure you don't want the Baker perk. There is the epic difficulty that writes legends. I want to write Legend James, the story of the indomitable porpoise. Survive the dragon a few times, said Oswald. There's the no healing run almost equal in difficulty called Godless and Damned. Let's see how far we go until we die, said Laos. Silence, said Clement, you furball. My defense has never been breached, unless real bullshit, said Porpoise. 10 years undefeated, I have laughed at hammers from giants and giant flails from undead. Oh, that's interesting, said Osgarth femininely. You should have said, my defense has never been breached, until he met me. James slices through steel with swords and chainmail with his fists. We'll gather on the castle from charred woods in the morrow, use this teleportation vial. The blue vial triangulated is small with fine etchings, like a story from an unknown world, poetry world. We'll gather a mage. Teleport out. They found Raphael and Yensid outside their tavern base looking in the distance. Hail, Raphael looked at a running Gregorovich vampire overhill. He was running with wounds and intent, surely he would get away, he's too tanky. Did you know blue fire is over 12,000 degrees hot? Yensid started
I'm sorry.
squatting and screaming like a chicken. He shot a 0.5 diameter blue laser with a smaller, more light blue laser out of his ass. It sniped the vampire at 200 meters. He felt like he had tripped on the ground. Searing pain. You are an unquenchable predator with your ass, Yensid, Alpha and Omega. My hunger cannot be fully quenched. BWOK, said Yensid incomprehensibly like it was a completely different conversation. This will make God Ra proud, Asdisciple said. 4 more vampires Gregorovich attacked callously this morning, said Raphael mistily. What did the seer foresee, James? Is this goodbye? He was ready to steer his fate, going into something non-intuitive. Never mind the seer, we want to join a quest on Dragon's Nest. Make some dollar bill. This is a trick, you will not make it out alive. Unless with my help, out is harder than in. Please, Raphael, I really want to go. Wizard Yensid farted the hay off nearby rooftops in preparation of their anguish. You could taste the fear. You know you can't stop me if I really don't want. To govern your power you can't go beyond limits several times every day. There is ancient treasure I want too. Raphael sounded like a bloody prophet and wiped the blood of his crossed sword. It was clean like duty and the promise of revenge. I can't believe he's allowing us to do this. It's like a bad teacher, death is certain. We'll read then, we have until the morrow. James ate 520 grams of protein, stocking up before bed. 100 grams was too much and had turned into fat. Bodybuilders fear too little protein like the Grim Reaper. It really is capitalism turned into fear of eating too little of thus product. 20 grams of protein with 20 grams of sugar and saturated fat. Healthy. In the morning James was remaking a gent song brilliantly really on his acoustic guitar. He played Trashy Law unprocessed. Listen to the intro for maximum immersion. Keep playing, I'm feeling inspired, Yensid proclaimed. He started twerking in his robes with his hands on his knees in a long circle. When James played the chorus do 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 day da da day, Yensid started picking up speed. It was incredible, a physical endeavor, a feat like an Olympic athlete. He was like an enduring washing machine. At the end of the beginning his feet started smoking. Yensid was at maximum wizard speed. Eventually he caught on fire and walked away for a break like he had done something wrong. Perfect twerking 10 out of 10, said James like a gnome. Damn, he's got me in the spin circle, said Porpoise. Time to stop in my A-game. He stroked his beard and looked a mature wizard choking on his reasonableness. What are you saying, Porpoise? That was so stupid I think I might lay an egg. You only say that because I'm a better baker and soprano. Me too, said Yensid. He actually laid an egg. What? Baked beans. Yensid seemed in pain. They all shared his nervousness. Cold sweat poured with the fear of judgment and shaking. Baked beans, said Yensid in a Texas accent necessarily, and farted an entire collection. History books, or of the History of the World 2020 History Editor Edition. They flew and the books opened at random pages like from a turbine. Wait, here's the grammatical lexicon. What the fuck? That's pretty impressive, Yensid. That's from the future. It was possible because it wasn't the future for you. Turbine power. Proof I was here, James said like a mapmaker, opening the lexicons. It smelled like yeast and were damp like regret. It was interesting for everyone. I didn't know this about China and I live in these times. Give me this history of the world, said Raphael. This might be dangerous to read for some people. Personally, I would to read the future before it happens through. Are you going to tell us who you're talking about, Raphael? People with royal blood, like you, James. You don't want to know who you're descended from. And so his fate was sealed. End of the beginning. James, Raphael, Porpoise, Yensid entereth with teleport crystal, in charred forest. Oswald hailed them with a torch. You're the last one to come. 2 dwarves got cold hairy feet. That's a proper army, or party. Is he a butt wizard? My instincts flare at the superior beast. Yes, look at this. He farted a flame into a candle. Isn't it supposed to extinguish, or make it explode? It is easy to light a fire. There's ways unto your imagination. You are holding back again, Yensid, said Raphael. The psychologist Seer said people are never going to know who you are if you only show minimum. We must bend to the psychologist's will. Or what, said Porpoise bravely. Or they will take over. Yensid farted dragon shape and blue-white lightning coursed through like a long decisive roar and then powered up all their light sources like overload. Wow, we are going to get through the rooms. I can't breathe. He is immensely powerful if he just remembers to use the 50% more sane of his thoughts. Anything can happen if we act on the sane 50% of our thoughts. Let's go now, people. They came upon a darkness with certainty. The wall, the sky was dark here always, air directing and confusing, darkness cultivated. The path to Dragon's Nest was deadly in the air like a sickness cord, fateful like eternal vision and hindsight best in the world. They saw and followed the castle's west wall a bit, but could not see the top. It was shrouded in black clouds, like it could be anything in the sky. You can have Daisy here in lack of dwarf. She was a herbologist intelligent with a magical red tattooed white direwolf. She can turn into a bear, but will be unreasonable for 12 hours. Not necessarily as a bear. She can heal and elfish magic, being her exchange student for painting battles. The direwolf and bear were not so dissimilar in size. The direwolf was imposing and looked spiritual with the red totemic rectangles, wise and observing. If they could only read its thoughts. He had made opinions about them already. They split. 10 they went into different entrances. 40 brave men and wizards. The first room was a southeast entrance, respite, a decorating of the first floor, grey charming stone with benches and 3 wooden tables with many candles, red tablecloth. Many furniture and red rugs, brightly lit. A charming decorated entrance, ghostly paintings of memories dead and rich lords forgotten. It gave them the choice between the first doors. Who is the zombie butler? He looked just like he's seen better days, grey and ruffled, bald spot, rectangular suit. He didn't speak a word. We start with 3 different currencies. They grabbed the bundle of rectangular from his hands, triangular and circular, blood money, moon quarters, diamond dust. 3 of each to spend in wisdom, to shops and for bribes. The castle would encourage him to restrain, then spend. The logical was a little bit like selling something cheap. There were rejuvenating potions that be bought usually or alternate potion effects with blood money and diamond dust, or a combination. They are valuable. There's not too much health in Dragon's Nest. Don't spend it recurrently on riches no matter how exponential. Isn't the whole point getting rich? The butler lit a black candle on fire and went up in flame feet first. Looked like a teleport to me, said James. Where did he go? Somewhere central, said James. 2 doors leading left and north seemed menacing. They read death and mistake. Jens had put on his right eye patch. Spiritually James felt deadliness, deep hidden things impossible and cold old stone damp. Mostly stone. Stone is more alive in a castle, absorbs the gossip and murders. You could hide the world's sins in here. And secrecy. I sense right. Me too, said Oswald, let's go right. They opened the wooden steel gate and it seemed to get stuck halfway, on junk, clutter and rubbish. The room was a giant room of wooden crap, barrels, beams and tables restricting movement, all dark, dusty and covered in webs. There was nowhere where there wasn't junk, a contemporary room, piled the largest thus in the middle. Watch your step, men, Oswald. They climbed through the middle, more uncomfortable, annoying and slow than treacherous. They ploughed through a sense of not being able to return, an amnesia in safety, in the way out. James' instincts reeked of death suddenly, like a poison trap as he touched the giant web. He could not logically figure out why and unfortunately didn't listen. Thinkers can be disconnected to understanding some emotion if it doesn't make sense. Not always born prepared handling emotion either introverted or extroverted, it is also the same intertwined with other people. The management of the group just needs deeper thinking. They should always listen to the warning, your body doesn't tell you unless there was a point. Inferior emotional cognitive functions tell you when your thinking is wrong, when it has moral consequences you said yourself you disagree. Like thinking only possible through the best of circumstances. Emotions doesn't have to make sense through. Raft and rubbish broke and those climbing the shortest way were soon stuck. Don't touch the giant webs, Porpoise shrieked. We would have need to touch some webs eventually, there's no way around. Giant spiders, Gregor exclaimed panicky for being so muscular. Giant spiders descended from above spraying webs like lassos. They were white-grey with lots of hair and thin limbs, some were hanging on 5 times larger legs. Some massively colossus more than giant. Porpoise lit the webs on fire intelligently as people started panicking. The grey corpse-looking spiders were cautious and undecipherable. Zombie spiders, said Raphael, we're going to have to fight and test the metal. James threw his discus and 1, 2, 4 axes like they were endless, like the spiders were endless too. There was a serine tempo. Projectiles were fired en masse, magical and not volley. The dwarf was screaming. James threw a fossil pole arm and it cleaved the spider completely. Porpoise fired fossil arrows with his arbalist and effortlessly parried their fangs and legs when they were close and sure of damage. Gregor made mincemeat of the spiders close with his spear, a flurry of pointed ends, being barely sane. The direwolf kept close and defended Daisy, yet it went too far. Jens had sniped spiders. Like a bullet he could make piercing flatulence going through their body's whole, aimed betting from behind. Laros was jumping and running hitting spiders in the bullseyes. Like he had a jetpack he dashed to stay on top. Soon there were too many following and he panicked not knowing what to do. A calm co-current contemporary instance of propane. Jens had blew a spider, thus like a demolition man. The spider had gotten really close while he was explaining. Being able. Raphael cleft spiders like they being judged. When they shitty had his back turned, they were in range. The spiders didn't seem accustomed to thus and contemporary. The party fought like this battle was going to be unique. The spiders bit and had overpowering strength. Seeming like a ghost, they could really sprint just when you just thought to calm your fear. They were way too strong for a first encounter. The dwarf hack again was stuck between two powering spiders, axe and shield. He focused entirely on blocking, no time to think about anything else. He was surprised as he survived. He was just one mistake away. Block. Slash. Brad Pitt, looking pole arm at arms, exhaustingly slashed a spider to the ground, but just defeat. Something pierced him like damage to accept. What had happened? It seems he had been bitten in the neck. He wrenched himself free, wondering if this was the end, clasping his blood. Then he got crushed into a pulp, mushy peas by two spiders' bottoms fighting, rolling, inconsiderate. James stabbed, cut and smashed with his pole arm, poking with silvery gleaming metal, deflecting into spinning pole arms, boosted jumping with fire feet. They eventually survived the army of spiders, but the amount was sickening. It took their stamina and patience. A test of the difficulty of Dragon's Nest. Thus, a final 20-meter in diameter spider came on its silk eerily down. Their weapons had no effect on it. They were really considering panicking as Raphael started blinding the spider with his circular guard crossword. "We're all gonna die," said the cleric. Raphael whispered holy words, then flew and cleft the spider's head diagonally bottom to top, seamlessly. It was hard for the eyes to look at, blindingly holy. That's the power of Dragon's Nest. He was a necessary casualty. Rubble fell down into the middle as they moved. There was a bottomless hole. Maybe it was not uncommon, smelled like carcass. The next gate opened into a room pitch black. What was the trick and pointed stabbing butler? It felt like it could be anything and told them even less. Eld Fucina Jensen enjoyed putting a live-lasting fireball as light in the top of the room. Good thing they had not walked further. It was an abyss room. A drop, perfectly architectured rectangular hole. There was a creaky cracked old plank from the beginning of the room to the end, and that was it. Let's make a jump. This leads into the catacombs if we survive, said the one-eyed dwarf hack. All abyss and planks do. So early it will make us likely pop up closer to the treasure room. We're as far away as you can now minus one room. It is less dangerous, a gambit to consider at least. It shouldn't be harder than plowing through rooms with intent. There is content further apart in darkness. Let's put it to a vote, said Oswald. Surprisingly, no one said anything, not even the dwarf. It was early maybe. Very well, I'll scout, said Raphael, and flew with his 4 wide white angel wings. They were as long as he. He wore a white golden dress with a hood long which half hid his golden armor. He was armored to surprise and celestial might. Poisonous arrows shot from serpent heads, poisoned bolus and a toasty fire breathed from gargoyles, close to the cracked plank.
1 second.
It was a whirlwind of things to think about. We must cross the plank, said Raphael. It creaked and bent at one dwarf foot. Maybe I can throw you, said James. I can magically reinforce the plank with ice magic, said Jensen geniusly. 1 or maybe 2 at a time. And so they feared and creaked. The dark room was profoundly getting into their heads, just like it was empty. There was a stench of danger and time locked away without sun. I'm too scared to do it honestly, said Daisy. Someone must carry Calder, my direwolf. James carried the direwolf cutely, and then Daisy. Sexual thoughts secretly went through Daisy's head as she was carried across the plank on his muscly shoulder. Wow, this guy is so hot. Jensen farted normally and it started to crack the plank in power. The sounds of it cracking were so many times you thought to already drop. Jensen and Porpoise reinforced with ice magic, thickening the plank to twice its size. Stop farting. If we die from this, I'm going to kill you, Jensen. He was whispering impatience and guile. You know you can't beat me. The plank is broken, thus will drop when the ice melts. This won't work again. We shall have to find a different way out. That won't be too hard, would it? They ventured straightly. Last man to cross was the dwarf. I do feel a little bit too easy with one eye. As the dwarf was almost over, as a giant voice shrieked sacrifice, and 3 shadowy giant arms protruded from the abyss between real and shadowy. They pulled the dwarf's shoulder out of its socket and pulled him down towards the dark. Jensen blasted ice and fire spells and said, "He's gone, Raphael. He's never going to survive the catacombs." Raphael shot down with blazing speed. The shadowy arms required to be cut several times by Raphael's holy dimensional blades before letting go. Master Dwarf Hack was carried gently into the edge of the abyss, like a chestful of bladed fat. I have no cheek to say this time, thank you, Raphael. What is this room? I don't see the danger. It's the room that taken revenge on people who ruined the environment. Dimensional whales. Like a teleport, the whale thumped the ground, staring at him. There was a white one and pink one. They stared in fury, disappearing again. You must have a sure path, yet change it preemptive. They will aim where they think you will go. They started running like ants, and not everyone fitting the size of the whales. Just there, a little more and we will have made it the end. They had big-brained it to the end, so skillful in being indecisive. Porpoise decided it was so close, he would take extra time to run straight. A whale came crushing with intent. It flattered Porpoise and broke his armor like it was his life. Use command Yensid. Yensid pulled Porpoise to him and he flipped upside down. He was crushed like a dream and unconscious into blood. Porpoise coughed some blood. The cleric, he healed him with revive. It works on almost dead people at this tier. His sword was shattered in artsy big and small pieces. They had to find him a new weapon. It's good to have you back, Porpoise. Don't scare me like that. He was crying like blind. A corridor of white stone slabs and torches claustrophobic entered. It was uneven and damaged. Wait, James said. Asterisk Claret smashed through some different, engraved slabs, telling through a lacking pattern. Look, he pulled out a small shrine from the wall. It was engraved. Let me open it magically with my ass, said Yensid. The shrine smelly was filled with coin and onyx rings, bracelets, one explosive black flask, one green handsomely crafted vial. There was one crystal-shaped vial. This is a tear of osseous. It will give you giant strength and quirks for 80 seconds. You can drink the random potion for beneficial random effects, or negative. I'll do it, said Porpoise. I'm feeling lucky, knocking them to the sides ineffectively. Blue magical letter shone before Porpoise's eyes. Benefits from additional effects from other potions. Random rooms will now have more positive random effects. That doesn't seem so bad, said Porpoise. So did Clement. Don't comment positively on a 50-50 effect like you had control. Don't be stingy then, it's just who I am. Alright, whatever. James thought to say it carefully from the beginning. No one made any cringe jokes about leaving already with treasure. It was a puzzle and chemistry room. Bold and tall to roof were chemistry tubes and Erlenmeyer flasks. On a sign stood thus warning. Beyond bald and comfortably numb. What does that mean? It means your hairline will recede if you get it wrong. I can't do it, said Porpoise. I'm going to go bald anyway, said Clement. I'll do it. Wait, I know what this means. James put tubes into the right plumbing and switched on valves of steam and acidity. This is how you chemically make coffee, said James. He poured a steamy cup. This is a relative puzzle, said Clement. It was a 6x6 tiled board, and if you pressed one down, the others around it responded plus eccentricity. This is impossible. You must figure out all possible outcomes, then you can piece it together. They affect each other. There are multiple all possible outcomes. There is a limited amount of them. That is the puzzle you must figure out. Clement scrawled through the alternative and everything clicked when there was 5 different solutions revealed. A potions chemistry puzzle. Who is ready to lose your hair? You mean who is best at chemistry? You don't have to do it, James. James measured potions and ingredients, remembered his chemistry like a genius. It was not an easy thing. He felt like his teachers must have been better. The gap gave him a headache. This must be it. I'm sure of it. A butt wizard came from up top and farted his hairline off, looking like a monk. I'm never going to get it back. Starts crying. We're all going to lose our hair. I have a question, said Raphael, but the butt wizard didn't move a muscle and elevated out of sight. Ding, a voice said, 2 out of 3 possible done, you can continue. You don't look that bad, James. Porpoise measured the damage. I never thought that I would lose something like this. At this stage, I feel grey and sullied. You can tell people you have cancer. He looked out of place and uneven. To the other sex, my chances has gone down 30%. I love playing the game of I'm texting my dog and EWW birds to charm the blonde and confuse the model. There are powerful people with little hair that looks like thumbs and lift heavy weight. Is there no way to get my hair back? There is one way. He would talk to Oswald and find out a game in which you could get your hair back, even if it stopped growing naturally, for the wizard had quicked the process. Something to do after we survived the castle. They came across a black elf, a small malnourished prisoner-looking elf with an orcish face. Only wore pants. He wanted to trade a dead rat for one of their treasures, and he would not attack them in the future. Who knew if he found a band of predator assassins? Shoe trickster of the dark, said Porpoise. He scurried imprinted. The most important thing is defense and health, I think, the dwarf said intelligently, to survive the castle. Tank the ever-present traps and defend the corpse eaters. There are many traps that can go wrong, spikes, lures in chests. The corridor ended in a cross. One direction seemed to be a tunnel maybe made by raiders. It was relief compared to fighting. They were ready to stress and spend. "Let's go west, men," said Oswald. "The treasure chamber is diagonal to the middle of the castle." They went torchlit to another spiked wooden iron gate with a gargoyle face, and opened heavily. It was 3 times 5 meters wide. Skeletons started pouring. They had heavily been leaning against the door. Pouring and pouring like a great mistake until the last head stopped rolling, some 4-meter half-giant skeletons. Then they came alive. With hand-protected pirate scimitars and battle axes they marched dead intent. Some had black full helmets spiked and black and golden chest plates. Protecting ribs and a liver they had left. There were mace tank skeletons armored to the teeth and skeleton archers with green flames in their eyes. They would cut you to indomitable force, savage and keen. The dead were ambitious, determined like nothing to lose by a tolerant citizen. Skeletal mages with little robes started shooting blizzards and bolts of lightning into the party. They got hit by instant lightning bolts until Daisy set up a magical conduit, then she turned into a bear ferociously. The direwolf had a field day and would afterwards too, maybe with the bones. Strange dead enemies, thought the wolf. I have met enemies like this before. Do they really expect me to attack the dead? Futile. It was about as smart as a grey African parrot, 55 intelligence quotient. James echoed Dar or SOF like he was Thor and hit half of every skeleton that had poured through the door, rabble into wood instruments, preventing them from flooding for a while. He grabbed a skull and rose like a meteor in the corridor. He smashed through the biggest mass thus, a bone gravel area. Giant skeletons swung massive wide 2-handed swords overhead, battle axe and some just attacked with fists. They had magical necromancer strength, like arm wrestling someone you know you could beat. Jens had sat on a skeleton so it couldn't move, then with flatulence brutally destroyed it and made a 3-meter hole into the ground. Digging straight down. There is ass magic I cannot do. Actually, Jens had said, 1 magical sword, 1 staff. It is being teached at Solga docks. There's a hole here, I smell, wine, said the wizard profoundly, intelligently. The bear used magical attacks with its claws and didn't mind walking around on 2 feet. Some pommeling magic stunned, some hunger attacks relinquished. It went into a frenzy and started stunning each enemy once with them all. The skeletons could have been meaty ragdolls. Alas, their bones did not have much resistance, not for a party of this level. Eventually they conquered. The last skeletons were destroyed with impunity, lightning, dwarf thundering warhammer, magic and axes. I see a basement. Jens had lit his farts on fire with a fiery finger. Blue fire burned through the cobbly stone and made 2 by 3 meter hole carved. Oswald dropped and made no sound, as a lightweight. It's a wine cellar. Jens had broken an orcish wine barrel. Wine barrels were stacked 3 on 3 by the entire tall wall, a long dark corridor of oak. Oak and maple barrels with taps. There was white and rye bread, baguettes, Italian-like country bread rough. A candle was lit on just one small table with some scripture. Some more wall torches lurched diagonally. This cellar was not for eating, it seemed. Was the necromancer alive? 2 corner cabinets had dried meat, ham steaks, black sausage links from the roof and blood food. Eat, I think, replenish your health, drink and tug greedily, said Oswald. What if it's poisoned, Oswald? That would be reasonable. Awoo, said the direwolf, commenting on what they said. He had opinions too.
I bought 7 of these. There wasn't too much sale on them, unfortunately, this time, but crumbles, Western bottom cheese, 1/3. This is the shit. This is delicacy.
Awoo, said the direwolf, commenting on what they said. He had opinions too, worthwhile, valuable emotion, used up patience trying to understand their language, although having heard so much, he understood English like a few years in school. They were very repetitive sometimes with what they wanted him to do. Didn't they understand? He just didn't want to do it. Mighty was the direwolf, and White Fur Daisy loved hugging him. A werewolf comically came in, clawing the door halfway, staring at the party. They all stared. James, with speed technique, instantly pushed him throat up to the door and feet off the floor. Dwarf Hack put his axe/warhammer menacingly close to his head. Speak, is this by any chance poisoned, werewolf? We're not stupid and ready to play games. When James spoke of death, everyone got the idea. After 3 seconds of silence, like getting momentum back, the wolf said,
What do you mean?
The light dwarvish spiced stuff tastes like poison. Alas, we eat and drink. Is the necromancer alive? What? Is the necromancer alive? I cannot tell you this, the werewolf said with an aristocratic accent. Don't kill me. No reinforcements will come to this off-the-map room you found.
Yeah.
How did you find it?
Yeah.
Jens had farted just as he said this. Maybe we won't kill you, Kerr. Someone has to do this paperwork as well. The werewolf had twice knotted 1.5-meter grey tail swinging, red and black leather. James dropped the furry, he slid down the wall. What if that's the butt-cheek biting werewolf, turning your butt cheeks furry? The butt-cheek werewolf is a legend, told stupidly and at the wrong times. I'll be off, he left elegant and concerned with his own important world. They didn't enjoy themselves really until the spirits started pouring. Allfather ale, dwarfish mind blast bombs, Bordeaux red and red black. Fruity cider perfectly balanced, light as a feather. French champagne Winston Churchill drank, brandy perfectly colored. Wizard's light blue and teal mana fountain. It had no actual mana like commercialized. Alright boys, let's get drunk. Scottish. Different relaxed, relieved sides were newly shown by the party. Some people were actually interesting and turned into friends. There were many raiders who liked to work hard and party hard. A side rarely shown like insecurity about connection. This Hungarian beer is 2%. Drink this if you just want to replenish, or drink. Jens had liked the light beer. I like replenishing my mana with beer. How do you know the percentage, James? I am an alcohol savant. You mean a drunk, Clement? No, an alcohol savant. He didn't understand the difference in black and white. Is the direwolf old enough to drink? No, said Daisy. What? Lucky we are. I know this dwarf whiskey made from rye. Expensive stuff. He felt lucky as a dwarf. Everyone took a whiskey glass and cheered red-faced. Celebrating like manners were hard found. First everyone realizes whiskey is expensive, then they realize it's tasty. James gave everyone cheese he had opinions about. Tuck into your bags and pockets, gentlemen. I always wanted to own a castle, have servants, lazily exist. Osgiliath. Fat people are fantastic at conserving energy, they can always push when shove comes. Laos. Fat gives me power, you should see how I score in physical competitions. Osgiliath, she was pretty fat. I used to bulk up 20 kilos for more muscle. James. That's an interesting strategy, I have not heard it, interrupted Hack. You just need 400 more calories per day to significantly increase muscle growth, that's going up 2 kilos a month. Doesn't mean you should dirty bulk through with hamburgers and pizza, no diet that recommends that is good. I bulked up 40 kilos when I was depressed once, I just drank bottles of olive oil for 4,000 calories. Cleric. They started petting the direwolf 3 at a time like it was the most sacred, enthralling rabbit. I knew a guy when drunk he would always compromise, it was correct in his mind, if 2 people went to different streets he would go out in the forest in between, compromise. One time we lost him for 30 minutes.
100
Cleric.
left.
The best part of pre-party, party and after-party is playing games. One must be stimulated as far as they are intelligent, Super Smash Bros. Helps. A conscious decision every time. Too bad it needs 10 beers for us to say we love our friends. I'm not gay, said the cleric, he ruined the conversation putting in too much rough, tough and intolerance. I don't think we can beat the castle drunk, let's wait at least an hour. Iathy said together. Many fell asleep, 3 hours passed. Porpoise ate black sausage links until they tasted like porridge. He contemplated not gluttony, but how these sausages were a limited thing and tasty in a way to make you gluttonous. The werewolf came back and wrote on some parchment at the small table. Porpoise let him do it unwillingly. I literally have to do this, what else can I say, he said quietly. He exited with several parchments. They came into working rooms of wood and steel and into corridors leading to a grey claustrophobic tunnel into a 3-way, then into a chest which challenge was to open. Another effort for random effects. Green vials, says will wear off in 3 room if negative. Better not drink before a room then, Alder it now, said Gregor decisively, it would be exhausting if they questioned it. Will boost your metabolism to diabetic strength, while high blood sugar, and double your natural adrenaline effects. Quick, what gives me high blood sugar? Most things tasty and unhealthy, non-plants, said James, fiber only exists in plants, it's the cell walls. What's a cell wall? Hard microscopic walls of plants. I'll drink my honey bottle, what percent of sugar is this? 82 grams out of 100, you don't need much. Gregor drank more and was enthralled, laughed like a giant Viking. James drank the second one looking like a Chad. Take double damage from the first hit, sluggish defense, stamina and movement. Sluggish. Enter skeleton-looking door. They entered a giant cave untouched and gleaming, it was dim like moonlight, a field of beautiful dead. It entered into a circular lake. There was a chest with silver details, it looked like it hid nothing but underneath, probably a whole world. The chest contained swimming broadshorts, it had terrific stats like plus fire damage and immune to cold around the shorts. Laros grabbed them. I think we have to swim. One of us has to swim, said Gregor. I can hold my breath for 5 minutes, said Giant James, and I train in water. I used to be an arrow of youth, competing in swimming. I was just chilling, they never stood a chance. Indeed, he had speed in water like he was using flippers on his hands and feet. Take this potion, Cave Murray, it will triple your breath and make you see in the dark, enhance your speed, resist cold, smell like a fish. Fenugreek makes your armpits smell like maple syrup. James touched the lake and nothing happened. He downed the squid ink tasting black vial and went in egregious. Disgusting, the cave water was dead and alive sea vegetation, some pale white grey fish. The cave was like the walls closing in, the potion helped against the cold. He scouted some endless cave systems, then went back for air, being joyful of task completion and genius of independence. Face enter at surface, it went up like a wet jellyfish in distorted faces. Water disappearing, wet hair. It's a cave complex, it will test my lungs anyway. No danger, just have to figure out the way. He was focused to dive back in. As he dove, in 0.5 seconds the surface shaped into magical black ice. Probably need to go up to go down, then to go up, thought James. That's the intelligent puzzle they're looking for in the cave systems. It's not just this visible tunnel straight. Death waited for James in the straight tunnel. Rounding the system took a long time, but he was right, it was the most complicated tunnel. The length started testing his lungs. Amazing, James' body still felt just the same with little oxygen. The party was going panic mode as they realized James will die anytime. The ice didn't break, it didn't shuffle, it didn't dispel. He swam and penetrated, running out of air as he exited a stony sink. He surfaced in a cave lab. Elven journals lay here with kaleidoscopes and magnifying glasses of different sizes. Chests of chemistry and sluggish books, herbs were powdered and not. Magical orbs dented, would orbit like surgery. It was a good studying atmosphere, desk after desk. Bookshelves en masse, magical elven items, waterhole in the middle. James got up and saw a crystal teal, whirring crystal sitting on top of a contraption with 4 legs.
Some Dubai chocolate, delicious chocolate. Mixture is kunafa, cotton candy that costs like 10 euros. But I got it 90% off. Made in Dubai.
James got up and saw a crystal teal, whirring crystal sitting on top of a contraption with 4 legs. He lifted it, it slowly removed the magical protection of a wall. He opened a stone door into the protected corridor, then came to a brick wall. Smashing through it. There was his party trying to dispel the black ice. You're a swordfish in the water. We thought we would have to rescue you, said the meerkat goblin Laos. They walked a long time until they reached a 2 by 2 meter wooden gate with 1v1 edged. It's the only way, the dwarf said, thinking cleverly but not far enough. Inside was a huge 100 by 100 by 300 meter cave shaped like a cube with a small circle lake in the end. After central small stairs down went by a statue of a warrior, there was an impossibly large 25 by 25 by 70 meter tall naga with 4 arms and 4 stone katanas. She waited sharply, eagerly, everlasting satisfaction from the written, carved rules. This is an interesting statue. I fear not, the naga said. Gregor, let me at them. It was a lightly armored female, green and beige underscales, 4 painted bamboo shoulder plates, Asian-looking armor. This looks like why you need me, said Raphael. I will bestel judgment, bloody and God-fearing. I can do it, Raphael, said James quietly. Quickly and considering, Raphael said, what's your defense plan? Will you allow me, if I ask nicely? I will enhance your shield with impact magic, defensive, said Yensid. I will need some air magic to get to her head, make it easy for me. Light as a feather, Laos. Drink the vial, Daisy. James drank the vial of Osseous. James went forth sword and shield, like 2 exteriors glorious and timeless, aspect to the serpent egregious. Hail serpent. The 30-meter katanas came swinging 2 by 2, mercilessly, horizontally and vertically. The impact was something of himself, it was better for him to duck or dip. She also followed up with magic, making 3 meters katanas fly at him from the floor. James dropped his sword, charging impact impetus and eld everlasting into his right arm. He charged and charged, using up his entire magical reservoir in 120 seconds of dodging. His entire arm was glowing red and his fist white. An immolation aura of white cracked the ground and air in a circle around him. With a little bit of cheating, Jens had hurricaned him up into the air for the 1v1. Cheating, said the naga. The speck flying towards the naga's face was met with 4 slow swords crossed. James knocked them back giantly with his impact shield magic. Then sound and time seemed to be silent for 4 seconds as James closed in. 9 Impact Flame Fist. The stored up power was waiting to be released like unbelievable and spiritually agreeing, let it go. James hit the Naga in the left face cheek with an impact and sound of the god ULLR, a fire 9-star scolded the air and fire followed the serpent. Like hit by God's fist 25 by 25 meters, the shockwave knocked the stone off around him and with the gravity of something thundering. Slowly the Naga descended to the ground, lifeless arms, did a somersault in the air over 9 slow seconds, the enemy was knocked out, technical KO. James already had the strength of a giant. Look at the bottom, there's treasure. We can trade the treasure from that wooden statue over there, adjacent to the next door. It seems even beating the Naga was met with a curse. You were not supposed to win, a dead end in the castle. James was weak and delirious. That's the curse of insanity, half consciousness, we got to get that removed, said Porpoise. They could clearly see prize cups and gold, tiaras magically magnified in the bottom. Golden spiked clubs and staves and giant orbed one-handed staves. The water was minus 200 degrees, cold as space. James pulled back his foot. Strangely, the sensation was not very different from burning. It told him of damage. You still have some cave Murray in you, the dwarf asked rhetorically. We need to heat up the water, said Laros. Use my stamina, Porpoise said bravely and started breathing fire into the water. The water still got draining cold at the bottom as James lifted intentionally heavy treasure up. James was confused and to control his senses several times. The heaviest one felt like he sacrificed something. Back and forth, he barely made it, getting the last treasure weakened like poisoned mercury. Yeah, obviously you're good at swimming, came the statement from Laros and a pat on the shoulder. Take off your swimming broadshorts, wear some pants. No, I won't do it. That's the ass saber of Antioch, said Yensid. No, that's the spellsteel axe chasm, it's been lost for centuries, said Hack. And Apocalypse Edge, the battle axe of idiot kings, it was gemmed 60 times ruby and onyx across the side of the axe blade, luxurious silver steel. There's the spellsteel silver-edged axe, it helps with your casting. It's got 5 slinging spells and 3 useless. Chasm the cleaver can teleport you wherever your eyes can see now and then, classically behind your opponent, and it can rain fiery asteroids from the sky. I'll take it and ask for no more this quest, said Gregor. No one said anything. You can have claim on the dragon's treasure still, said Yensid. Gregor thought stupidly not to take that either. Overhonored, he said nothing. This is going to change your life. You're going to become an accountant. You make my accountant dreams come true. I will correct you until you break. No, don't do it, Yensid. I must break you. I will honor this edge like all dwarves before me. Again, as far as you could see sharply was their next gate. The cavern was profound, symmetrical, boring and damp. There was a mechanical statue, or shop with primordial features yet stern. We have 5 additional blood money coins. We don't want them one. Start each combat with an additional wombat. Wombats can go crazy after people's heels. We can buy explosive punch. It's an explosive you throw at their feet, hits with a punch in the nuts if you've blocked an attack. Let's first buy 5 and save 3 coins. Finish a fight so you don't take damage, said Porpoise. This will knock 'em out like getting used to, said Oswald. 3 diamond dust and 1 moon quarter will get us the white orchard potion. It says it will nullify the first damage one takes, doesn't work against the dragon, 20 uses. Let's buy it. It seems you're allowed to trade random items for random items. Pretty much permanent, that one. 1 moon quarter for 2 random positive effects potions and 1 green random potion. Let's stack them of Porpoise. Alcohols will now heal you 60%, and every potion will now heal you 30%. When you get something useless, get something additionally useless. I don't see how Drunk Potions Master is going to help us, said James. I'll start brewing hangover potions, said Laros. We need scrappy herbs family, burned bones and ashes from a lion blown up with propane. They're more frequent in the catacombs, I think. There was an astute jelly honoring them in combat. Kill the jelly and eat it with cream. How do you kill it? Lightning through the nervous system. You made that up, didn't you? Said James and pointed a nervous finger. Look, there's a book here on eating monsters in dungeons. You just need to know how to cook them. Chapter, Castle Depth 2. We're deeper inside the castle now. Here's the entrance. There's the replenishing fountain and removal of items statuette, removal of curses, small anti-poison green fountain, damage amplifier for luxury times, and upgrades. We can choose to boost 300% max mana, cannot be reinstated if we choose no healing. Goes to 500% next time. Doesn't seem that big of a bonus. You don't know how to disintegrate enemies in 1 second with max mana. Why you're no mage at all.
Balance out the...
If you keep stacking health potions and
cotton
fountains, you can
candy.
tank one more hit, very upgradable. We can choose to damage ourselves for treasure, more damage taken each time. Reverse fountain. We can camp here. Silent silly person, said Clement. Let's drink and then let's remove James' curse, said Porpoise. He cared for him in a touchy way indeed. What if I want to boost Clement? We have to restore our health, there's no way around that, we're not burning through all our food and drink. Especially not the lobsters, said Osgarth. Yeah, not yet, said Laros. Clement was forced into reason, still in intolerance. James remembered now how he used to function. As they entered the next room, fire roared. Gregor barely flipped his back into the wall and they saw the glimpse of someone pausing. It's a stock green dragon, peaceful in nature and amongst cliffs of animals it doesn't eat. A dragon in Dragon's Nest. That was predictable. It's better with dragons, I think. Wow, that dragon is so cute, said Daisy. The green dragons drop different things, depends on where they're in the castle. It's a huge castle. The dragon headbonk is calculated as a different attacking style. This dragon is no joke. Did we pick up any dragonfire resistant gear? It might have been tradable. We didn't know the chance of specializing. We did actually, we knew there would be dragons. Sooner or later. The dragon had been chained to the middle of the room, but he had lots of space and a crevice to sleep. Shoot your arrows and arbalist while I conjure a mana shield, said Yensid. The party fired in adrenaline as they thought the sure fire marks would decimate. He's still standing. James stood 5 seconds in the dragonfire tanking and trying to finish off the dragon. Toasty, said James. Are you still there? Said Porpoise. Let's re-strategize. That boy is tanky, forsooth I say. While not commonly used, green dragons are beatable with magic. Let's try this, said Yensid. Dragon roar. Yensid farted fire grand like operas about vision. The dragon counter-breathed fire but couldn't beat the scolding plume. It engulfed the entire dragon-like destiny, so it fell to the ground yellow, scolding and red, splitting in 5 seconds. Looks like it was hiding resist fire and dragonfire potions. Only 4, how ironic. It was white streaky orange, like hiding a mist. The dragon also seemed to drop chocolate cake. Those aren't cheap. Might need shields and anti-fire armor anyway. Amorous Ambrosia is the last potion I can learn here, uses our currency diamond dust and the essence of someone who has waited 10 hours for something in vain. What's an essence of waiting? His tongue. It's like a thought transfer. We know that thoughts spend energy, where do they go? Said James. Amorous Ambrosia makes us take 90% less damage and sets our parry and dodge to 50%, but cannot be altered further, also makes us shine with a random color. 90% less damage is 10 times more healing. Some bosses are built around this, they expect us to have it, there are rooms deadlier like a squashed ant anyways. Then we should always have a potions master. I shall drink the concoctions in honor. Laos was looking unsteady on his feet with a mind of responsibility. They came across a potions master. He was a larger goblin than Laos, golden empty eyes and a grey beard. Everyone needs potions in Dragon's Nest. What can I exchange? 1 diamond dust for 3 random potions. These potions are not permanent, said James. I have permanent potions. In brotherly fashion, Laos said, do you have any junk we can trade and make into potions ourselves? Not much. The nest starts out in hard difficulty. Let's just rob him. How hard is the fight, Oswald? The potion master fight is one of the hardest bonus fights. You're not supposed to do it. No one's thought of this before, James, but it's bad luck to go off script, they say. The randomly generated things is set in some ways. I knew it. Don't kill me, said the master, having to throat all his reason. They stuck him to the wall with duct tape. He looked like a moth. They found 1 to 2 of every potion, like smoke, poison and adoration. There was one-time attacks of 4 elements and a hamster upside down in a bottle. Some like clearing hard rooms with a just a potion, but you don't get any express. Look, a space confined bag. There was 20 severe depression potions. Put them out of the fight with their own voices, said Oswald. Have you ever heard an orc say, I'm not strong? Depression is a spectrum, said James.
I had some tea. I wanted to make
this
some
is a map
tea
we can
later.
use here. It tells us something like might be a
Something to
potion
drink,
room here.
for sure.
She flexed the map vertically and horizontally while the edges did what they wanted. It seems like it's telling us a lot from the adjacent rooms, random rooms all around. Could not be fights. They're never going to tell us everything. The castle is filled with things that might be useful, to gamble and play odds. We can go this way northwest to probably avoid trap rooms. We're going to get better at reading maps for sure. It's worth avoiding every combat in later rooms, so that the ones you actually face you live through. Here's the fine print. It says, summon Mephistopheles, to read even more of the map. I'm all for it, said Daisy. Let's talk his ears off, said James. Summoned was a deplorable-looking mage with saucepan-whirling red eyes fading into a mist and skeleton of some bovine animal body between black drapes and long beard. Follow my will and usurp the necromancer. I am powerful enough to beat him if I face him alone. Obtain a random curse, yet a contract to get curse synergy. I will plead curses to help me, said the contract. James wrote his name thinking logically. Your curse is fear of black goblins. You can only run away from them and take more damage, but you will gain +1 intelligence +1 strength from every curse and +10% max health. The mage was thrilled and spoke with energy. You can also summon pacts. You can summon me or Hadine when needed, sometimes. We will get stronger over time. How can we trust you? Said James. You can trust in my ambition to usurp people. I can see the map more clearly now. There's a treasure room after 2 rooms, a tunnel and 2 avoidable fights. Can you fire blast the door? Said Porpoise. He fire blasted the door with low movement. Osgiliath almost fell down in the deep in the next abyss room. There is only one way for us. Look, there's small ways to walk on a decimeter of wood down in a circle, or well the shape of the room. We can enter or exit the catacombs thus. I don't see the bottom. If we get too low in the castle we won't get to the dragon chamber. They slipped and held to the wall, some fat stomach haze protruding all the way until a huge black door. Step in carefully, people. There seemed to be artifacts and a shop on sale. It was another well-dressed zombie-looking butler with surgically added huge glass eyes. They were marked on the sides and flat. There seems to be a golden swordfish you can fight with, 110% more bare fist damage minus 20% current health, plus 25% max health. It says not healed. We can't heal up from the damage in 4 rooms. I'll take it, said James. Too bad my health isn't incrementally low. An amulet that might choke you in boss battles, but add +5 of every stat, minus 25% current health, plus 10% max health. I'll take it, said James. The shop is filled with the same stats, minus current health, affordable, investable. You pay 2 diamond dust to get more resources, exponentially, minus current health. They're trying to get you caught in a loop of maximum life and potential, said Porpoise, the excitement met with dying now. How much health are we willing to risk? What if there's a boss room next room? Let's grab 1 item each. Better not be greedy. They entered their first room. All through it has the veneer of a normal rooms. Question mark rooms are very modifiable, a narrative of random directions. To go into a direction you didn't want, upgrading into beating the castle, just got to fight perfectly. This one seemed to be a shop, selling one thing. This pocket watch will heal 2 guys up to full facing bosses and increase their damage with 100%, but will also downgrade one person's life to 20%. The small man was baldening and dark-haired, wide lips and broad nose. You expect us to pay for a double-edged sword? Overall it is a plus, he said, ready a little bit to refute in logic. We risk someone dying, and that is permanent. We'll just heal you up at the start of the fight. Healing has a huge cooldown thus, here. How much? Said Clement Gregarious. It is half off, 1 diamond dust, because of your boons. We'll take it. Porpoise said, Encounters said that random events will be more positive in rooms now. There is an ability to sacrifice 50% of our ability to get currency for 30% more healing. So we're buying healing. Do we want to pay for healing? It makes sense to me, said James. They ignored him. In the next room there seemed to be a swath of twats. This is also a question mark room. Don't encourage them and anger them, answer neutrally to their questions and we shall be fine. The twat started flapping his wings, them coming too close. He screeched like primordial. They were trying to make each other speak without their terrible accents. It's chicken, not chicken. When you say I'm going doon the shop, Ken, I'm going to the shop now, no one understands what you mean. Yeah, they do. Don't drop the H at every word. The next gate creaked from gears. It's just a hole, like a chimney inside. I can see the end about 20 meters down, said the cleric. Daisy spoke Elvish and conjured a huge tree root for them to slide down. James thought he could just press his muscular award-winning back into it. James was first down. It was a crossroom of white iron brightly lit. It felt strategic. A minotaur. You readers know how a minotaur looks like. James put this shield down rigid as mountain, but the battle axe minotaur knocked him 5 meters back into the air anyway. In a movie they would probably have used strings pulling you up and back. Laros and Wizard Yensid came down and started scorching the minotaur with lightning bolts superior. It had no defense against this spell and range. After getting blocked and blocked again by new bone prisons and ice walls, soon its black flesh smoked in the tiny corridor, and roaring like a bull he fell over with its cow's tongue out. Smack the many boots said to the stone clumsily. Is that everyone? We go north still, Seth Oswald. Once they stepped on the final tile, the cross raised and rotated 90 degrees left. Dust and barrels smashed. West is fine too. At least we didn't trigger the sorcerer's curse. It will rotate all rooms 270 degrees random directions. If it makes us stuck, we're stuck. They entered a room with dead adventurers. Merrily around a circular wooden table they sat dead, the dead partying or at least conversing as a group. Etched in the wall was, "We can't get out, the wild wind blows." The room had 2 exits, one rotation had given them at least another way. The wild wind is a curse you don't want to trigger that kills your team, sucking the life out like sand. Ranger hat, crowns and butcher's coif sat on different heads differentiating the corpses. "We will honor your quest as we take your stuff," James said. They had silver and gold jewelry, some gemmed swords, diamonds, 1 staff. Daggers were distributed evenly. Paupers healed from a random potion they had. "Lose 5% of your max health," said the potion. Gregor carefully pulled every gold tooth out of a grey wide-bearded dwarf skeleton. "Honorable as Satan reading the Bible," Laos said. The cleric smacked Laos in the face with his Bible. Oswald didn't seem dishonored or discouraged and said, "We'll go east, at least it isn't south. We came from the south entrance, remember." They ventured into a pie-charred room with a stone curtain slowly raising. A voice said, "You have entered the orc room. Your best warrior is banished into hell with all but his worst weapon." Orcs crawled underneath the curtain as it raised, began throatily orc manless cursing. They came with arbalist and butcher's coif with onyx glasses, pikes and lance, heavy ballista were rolled out with orcish intents. Steel met iron as fate collided, a dance of orc anger, succulent whirlwind and savagery. James was banished next to a 5 by 5 meter circular Greek-looking stone temple. Around him was black and brown dirt with no end in any direction James could see. Orcs far distributed came running instantly to the temple. "Defend the temple, don't leave the temple." James had no weapon but his right fist and his discus of weakening. Wasn't a bad a weapon, he thought, in a good mood. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. He put on some AC/DC on his phone and punched the first orc like a frying pan. His legs shot up and leather boots flew off. He ricocheted his discus between 2 heads and punched a fiery hole through an orc chest as all 3 iron sword hooks flew into the air. From a top perspective, no one got close without getting systematically smacked. Gobsmacked, he gathered and equipped their weapons, armor until he had a full contemporary set, changing pieces into a fool's upgrading mindset. The set was different medieval colors, different steel sizes for meek orcs. He chased after people in punching whirlwind, they ran away. He was chasing people beyond the desolate temple, he beat them up in steel boxing, they waited for him at the temple. Several orcs were running as they forgot with their psychologically low EQ bravery against his fury, or they realized he was not beatable. 3M giant orcs generals came with long swords like a ruler, they were painted black like thieving bandana, chewed on straws with brown ponytails, they were the only ones not running but lummaging. He picked up and varied weapons, balancing against their steel. There was some defensive round shield orcs that cowered and wasted his time, they would wide guard others magically and come closer. James ignored him as much as he could. He danced the dance of death and slaughtered like a bloody biceps ballerina on his slayer task. He grabbed their weapons and shields, threw javelins, broke bows. He pierced and pommeled with sword hooks, threw 2 battle axes. It smashed like a boulder into the orc and knocked him visibly off the screen the camera was looking at. Bodies were stacking like restaurant plates. They came with siege, they shielded together, they had katanas and daggers. James fought and danced until 300 orcs were piling up. Ding, he got teleported back. You survived, said a voice like death or a wizard thrilled. No one was fighting in this room anymore. The battlefield was filled with teeth heads in helmets and colored blood. He went into another corridor and jogged perceptively. He could hear Yensid's farts like a guiding star. He punched through the wall with impact magic thrice. There was his team. "We had a hard time without you. Where were you?" said Inquisitor Clement. Yensid started screaming like a chicken sat on the floor and laid an egg. "What's in the egg? What if it has explosives?" The egg had explosives in it that destroyed the first layer of the walls in the room and knocked the party in different directions. "You want to know what kind of organic metals I have eaten?" The party had to recover from this and they started chatting angrily about wisdom and religion and Yensid and everything they had kept in their better tolerant selves. Walk on the path of God as much as wisdom, live right, care for your soul. Taxation is theft. That kind of walking is a form of wisdom. There is no proof of God clement the cement. What if you're wrong? What if you wasted your life? You are not a holy man, Yensid, but if you dare find signs of gods, you will. What if God is dead and we are worshipping someone killed? Said Yensid in a compromise. BWOK, just as things had turned to normal, Yensid was going to lay another egg. No you don't, lad, keep that stuff in. Hack bent Yensid over and pushed onto his buttocks. Yensid started farting. Arg. Your wizard is a liability, said Oswald. His ass is powerful, said James. Survival of the fittest. You're talking nonsense, countered Yensid. Every day I don't know if I'm going to be hurt or safe. Yerbum Zupa Winday. Saying it in Scottish doesn't make it true, Yensid. Propane. That is not an answer, Yensid. You lost your sense of taste in the military. No, I lost my sense of direction. What should we do if we measure ourselves against a Voidmaster? They have 2 high stats. I can just buff our attack and debuff his until we defeat it. Indeed, they came across red-black cloaks with shadows and no heads. 40% less attack stacking negative exponentially. Buff Porpoise, 1-shot attack. It's not that powerful yet. It took even a minute before the cloak realized they were in combat. It flailed with scary fate and indignation. It went for the cleric, very near stabs and dodging with thin hair. Is it ready yet? We might as well continue buffing, it is exponential growth. They kept dodging, which felt out of place and dangerous. This is enough. I feel powerful like a star, said Porpoise.
Clean baguette.
He slammed his hands together in silence and focus. In the meditation-like stance, power was exerted.
Never mind.
The cloak was one shot like a dissolving light. I love exponential buffs, said Daisy. They have a roof, said Laos. There's 3 lords on these walls. We must use our cards to determine the rooms, the backside of the currency we have. Let's hope they don't shuffle in a curse. She placed the deck in a stone hand.
I love making
Diamond
content.
dust makes the Lord of Pestilence rotate. The next room seems strange, like infinite. There was 20 grounds, it seems, half dirt, half stone. It lit up as they drew nearer, 4 stages for jewels, and there was the ghosts of slain dragons' nest raids. They sat in their armor, giant shoulder plates in grey and transparent black. Black elves sat as often, gathering more height, safely up back. They were the population and they were the tolerated trickster. They laughed insanely and seemed not like the newcomers were anything but mirages. 5 black knights stationed of hellish horse beasts with several horns and spikes, white heads half alive and mouths dead. The knights were fully armored, convincingly black, and had glowing yellow slits for eyes, large and oversized visors, gigantic shoulder plates rounded. The armor was gleaming from roundness and the abyss blackness. Let's go, men. James equipped his shield in his left hand. He walked menacingly as the first knight began jousting, fire laid in the wake as they sped up blazing. With speed technique, James strafed and took the pole of the jousting knight. He pulled him off his horse and smacked his head into the dirt. The party engaged with battle cry. The knight fought with skill and agility. He had pulled a warhammer from his belt. James started throwing warhammers thrice, and a discus. It hit the knight and he wasn't as intimidating flying back. 2 fiery battle axes addled with magic hit the knight in the shoulders, lodging stuck. Don't destroy that, I need it back, said James.
Wow.
The Black Knight was hard to interpret in silence. An impact warhammer ricocheted. He seemed immune to impact magic. No matter, James punched him in the stomach and up into the air, then kicked him in the head as he was going down. The horse went back practiced to its owner, both eerie in silence and death hollow. Communicating with dead wavelengths, a flail came flying and barely missed James' dodging cheek. It could expand by its chain by 50.
Yeah, you notice I'm pretty smart, right, YouTube? There's no tags on YouTube. Yes, how smart I am in IQ.
Communicating with dead wavelengths, a flail came flying and barely missed James' dodging cheek. It could expand by its chain by 15 meters, then it was pulled inside quickly with the chain. Then came a fiery whip and extended 5 meters. It hit James' armor and started to melt it. Hot like contemporary curry. James spun out of it and jumped out of reach eventually. That one got me before, said a night ghost, being reasonable. Better get back to my throwing strategy. YENSID, ICE magic.
Great, actually. As kids, we grew up getting Läkerol every time we went into the car. We were like, ah, shit, it's fucking hot and sweaty. There's the plastic really smells, and there's no air condition. But at least we get one of these sugary things each time. These are sugar-free and sprinkles of caramel, salmiak, pastillons, yeah. And they try so hard to sell this stuff to us. They invent so many new things, so many flavors, and so many sugar-free ways. Right? It's a completely unnecessary product, maybe, but on sale I got these, and they're terrific, really. Very tasty.
Better get back to my throwing strategy. YENSID, magic, please. Yensid shot forth a sheet of ice that shot upwards, knocking the knight back and pierced his feet. The lodged axe fell out of the knight's shoulder. James put another fiery one in there. James went for an impact uppercut that knocked thus. James threw this should be enough him. The Black Knight uppercut back. James went flying. The Black Knight alternatively flailed and whipped, but agile James kept out of range. The flail spikes seemed poisoned, but James had full plate. The knight came running and his weapons were close, but James knocked him back with the discus aimed at his throat. He went for a double warhammer throw, confusing, thus they both dented the knight's armor. The Black Knight mixed his whip and flail in the air and both came flying so fast James had to recalibrate thus. James did a punch into his chest, path of the strong nerd. It caved in his chest plate. Searching a whole lifetime, worlds colliding, punch. Yensid without being asked had time for another shot of ice. This time it froze the Black Knight, stuck piercing his legs completely. James whispered Eld Everlasting and went for a jumping axe throw. It whispered fire to the air and hit the knight between the eyes, searing its surroundings and cleaving his head. James went and helped his team, sneaking up behind a Black Knight and holding him with a half Nelson. Porpoise went up and put a piercing magical blade through his stomach. The knight shaked like he was being exercised and eyes exploded yellow explosions, smoking as he died. The cleric shot 1.5 diameter white divine judgment beams, half hit their targets and seemed to have no problem blocking the Black Knight's attacks with his thick armor. Laos had his short bow, often firing magical poison arrows. One Black Knight also had a spray poison attack and explosive blowpipe. James knocked him forward by hitting a warhammer in the back. He got hit by a judgment beam, so his helm flew high off. Laos whispered penetrating Foss Elva Thundergod Breger and shot through his arm. "Can I take a look at your gun, James?" said Yensid. "I won't spend your precious future ammunition." James shot the indomitable Black Knights. "I think I will be able to get more bullets." "You're going to regret it." Tier 10, Foss L. Yensid shot eldritch bullets 2 times from the pistol. The Black Knight went down like a beast. Porpoise had been scared, but had some really good moments where he motivated himself. He had been scared enough, for long enough, and he existed in it strangely motivated. Gregor had been poking frantically with his spear for 10 minutes, a flurry of jabs met by a frantic sword-swinging knight. It was the most personality both of them showed. He disarmed the knight and hit through his head 4 times. Unlimited barbarian power, dumpstered. "Get 1 versus 1'd, a just idiot lummox," he said triumphant. "An idiot just," said James. James thought about the essence of teabagging, now insanely like it's just like double dipping. Yensid let out one of the most ass-shredding farts in living memory, directed like a cone with magic and stomach muscles. In the land of the living dead, the painted skeletons all cheered. It is said it cannot be fully known no matter how you describe it. Daisy got her nervousness and ticks back. It killed one old man laying down in his home thus and woke his brother from the dead. The gods giveth and the gods taketh. Somehow the dragon knew there was a battle for him, time for him to awaken. Back to the knight, yeep. The final knight was dead as a doorknob. He wasn't powerful enough to raise his qualm, pitiful. In the room they found a cabinet hidden of gnarly cider, awesome sugary citrusy drinks unknown in 8-side circle with stringed cork and awesome jugs of wine known and classical. "Wait, don't drink the one, I taste mercury. This would have killed you slowly. Better trust the Winnie cellar." "This isn't anything compared to the Winnie cellar, it's just a little bit of respite."
Yeah.
Yensid, "How is your ass?" "Let's go back to the Winnie cellar people," they agreed in stupid communication. And so they did. Yensid summoned summer winds that blew them in the right
I
direction.
thought already had it.
They also made camp with mattress and cooked oysters and bacon, chicken in a wrap with bacon, and James taught them how to
That's
marinate
pretty
meat
good.
modernly.
It's a big deal, right?
"You know so much about meat, why don't you use it? The stuff you make is delicious."
Using
it is
arrows for
forbidden.
the first time.
"Why did you bring a mattress? When were we going to need that?" "Look, I can fold it 9 times with Scottish dimension magic." "Ask me for modern recipes. Did you know Italy spread their food everywhere? Many food types are global, and after England's conquest of India the foods fuse. England an empire, 120 colonies. Yes, hopefully we weren't too rough, you know," he thought as a contemporary Brit. They ate black sausage links. Yensid made potato tea, and then they soon replenished with wine and more baguette. "Let me play some arse flute," said Yensid. His arse flute farting with a dual valve engine sounded like a Scottish bagpipe. He played classical music, and he played solos, virtuoso and with scales, who knows how many fingers was on the flute. James, Porpoise here says you're lightweight, secretly said a drunk cleric. Who knows what he meant? No, I don't, said Porpoise. Slap him in the nuts and bite him in the leg. Bodybuilder James grabbed Porpoise overhead and threw him out the room 5 meters in a silly mood. Do you want some sausage? James said to Porpoise. Here, spice up the cleric's drink. Jens had farted a flame small, but just like igniting propane. The cleric looked unbothered in the distance, it was a wall, and drank, thus he went. God, someone farted in my drink. Don't use God's name in vain, said Laros. Throw me out as well, said Daisy suspectedly. Can I come in now, said Porpoise after 2 minutes. No, said James, someone put a keg of Bordeaux, he's afraid of good alcohol. They stapled 4 kegs of Bordeaux and Montrachet against the door. Clement opened a Wizard's Reader's Digest against the door and exclaimed, "This is just like home." Laros spit the Wizard's Digest out. This tastes like a hamster dipped against its wool several times in tea. Keep drinking, said Clement. And so they did. Parched and sozzled they were, missing their mouths and satisfying their spirit, cheering their earthy lineage and celebrating the contents and size of the glasses.
That's a lot of fucking
Ow, my
Irish.
head. Can I have some bacon? Said Porpoise. They gave him bacon like nothing had happened through a barrel crevice. Technically Porpoise did do nothing. SSSSCHSSCH your did he SSSDTH consequences of the Industrial Revolution 7 fried chicken, said the dwarf didn't make any sense. He was as worrying as insanity nudging on friends. Hack, you're only making sense to dwarves and yourself, stop drinking for a bit. James said it more because it was funny than being correcting. I challenge you to a drinking contest, said Master Hack. Loser gets punched in the nuts 750 times and lit on fire. That smells terrible, Jens said. That's not me. They had opened a keg with flatulence blue cheese manifest. Not that one, let's start with dwarfs convincing mind blast bombs. Hack took a chug looking James in the eye brutally. James drank his dark ale locking eyes, not giving anything away. The blast bombs were easy for the dwarf, but James was used to them too. They drank them and ran out of them eventually. The dwarf was concerned like there would be no more alcohol. What are we going to do now? They were saved thus by Guttrench Gander grog, multiple alcohols, and liver's innate double regret. Now we're getting somewhere. James doesn't know why he said that. Hack laughed in confused drunk. Hack turned into a mental midget, but James went into normal IQ territory. James enjoyed himself. This is how normal people are. Everything is fun and exciting. James was twice as wide and tall, but the dwarf would not be outdrunk this day. James moved the kegs. James staggered to Porpoise, read the labels and moved them easily. You are as fine a Brit as the Queen, Porpoise. You too, James. James wished they could have had coffee between grogs. Next up, Wizards Misspelling and Fire Guttrot Heartstopper. It made James water his eyes and Hack grasp his heart. Hack punched his heart. That made the pain go away, perfect health. The final alcohol they kept drinking was brandy, Bryn's Brainrow brandy. They drank and they drank and they drank, gathered time unnecessarily, defied their bodies, acted tough but also quite nice. Good, Bryn's catalogue. I already have Brainrow and no taste buds, said Hack. It's not that bad at all. I don't know why he said that, said Daisy. James didn't know where Hack was in terms of tolerance. James had pushed way beyond his limits and who knows what kept him going. He started to have memory and seizure problems. He went for another filled wooden pint mug and felt like he was hurting himself permanently. Chug. It filling up again made him feel dizzy and his body ached. You're not done soon, are you, Hack? I'm a dwarf, I'm done when we run out of beer. But you're making quite a show here. I thought you were invincible at one point. In those moments, invincible he was, just like James would have been against a spear. James reached for the pint who was being filled up. Suddenly the table went up in the air. He had fallen to the ground on his ass. The stone felt sleepy and cozy. Someone gave him the pint. James inspected it closely and drank disciplined, and then another. Hack looked addled, but the same when drinking. There was no telling how far he could go. This is a real drink for men. The dwarf took a swing of prickly pear hot propane spits. If you mix too much propane you go blind. Propane is energy. Propane is fuel. This has been a fun game. Let's do it again sometime, said James. Are you giving up, laddie? I can go on, I think, but I'll stop, he said casually. Hack cheered for 3 seconds, raising his pint, drinking another like a boss. I told you he drinks like a little girl and punches like a eunuch, then fell asleep sitting up. James thought the stone was cozy until his speeding brain realized, fairly scientifically, he might have drunk enough alcohol to die from alcohol poisoning. His body was strong and with a crazy conditioned heart, he would have survived, but so did James, thus not specifically realize. He got up and strongly lubbered to an empty keg, thought that he had to throw up. It didn't require much time for him to feel necessarily nauseous, and he vomited into the keg, again and again until his stomach was just food. He felt better but weakened. He started meditating with Stecker Yen Incantatum back against the keg solemnly, which he figured would repair some damage. And it did. They had drunk 99 units of alcohol. 1 medium beer equals 1 unit, together. No healing, I just need to meditate, said James. We have a healer, cleric healing, use it and it will sober you up by 60%. James didn't want to feel this afflicted, so he said, okay, fine. James was very strong under the effects of something like this, yearning to be used, like a hero. Hack didn't feel like punching James in the nuts 750 times, he didn't want to be bothered like with the cleric's healing either or with anything. Porpoise, mind blank as a canvas, lit him on fire through. I fire you from the job, didn't expect to get covered in fire, did you, shithead? James screamed, dance being on fire, concerned with the immediate like a doer. It had been tough beating James, but he was a tough oak used to go over his limits and professional eater, drinker for contests. He knew he could beat James before they started. The next room was the dodging room. This arena is big enough for our whole party against the door side. Instantly as the door closed, arrows shot from similar serpent heads covering the lower 80% of the area. Those who could, like Porpoise, jump 10 meters into the air, Yensid with magic, the others blocked. Giant saw blades came through the wall, making them jump away and up, some came vertically from the ground. Acid was pouring in from 2 sides of the room, narrowing it down more and more. It smelled like mercury sweet but was yellow-green. Some room tiles flipped 180 degrees into a hole in the middle. Saw blades pushed them into the middle. One tile started glowing and melting. 2 seconds later a hellhound head made out of fire entered and then dived down. Don't stand on the glowing tiles, said James. Serpent heads started firing arrows more sporadically and really made you mind your next step after the first, focusing on dodging, eyes on the surroundings. It was not for everyone. A spike shot up through the cleric's foot and then as he bent down, one through the other leg. Yensid, he can't move. Yensid tried his best to move the cleric with air magic, but he feared for himself. Intelligently he went to the same tile as the cleric. The cleric took that time healing himself. Daisy got hit by a sword blade. It was poisoned. Damn it, the poison makes it harder to dodge, she said unwomanly. Steam started pouring and burning, lighting people on fire, another thing to be cognizant about. A hellhound head got hacked. He wasn't the quickest, he melted instantly into a puddle of blood. Porpoise was by far the best here, dodging gracefully and flipping about. There was a golem appearing from the floor without much legs. It had a chainsaw and would pop up around you. A small gargoyle started appearing and disappearing in the hole in the middle, its neck was glowing yellow. Things were turning insane, they dodged faster and faster. Someone hit the gargoyle, said Daisy. James brought his whip resistant to fire. He had asked the elven to smith and supply it with mithril thorns 6 times 6 centimeters in diameter resistant to fire too. First time he wasn't quick enough, saw blades was barely dodged and deadlier. Second time he lassoed the gargoyle and pulled it up going into the abyss. It breathed fire around it until being properly removed. The room stopped moving, saw blades stopped halfway and the gate at the middle end was opened slightly. They took some time to heal the wounds. Luckily the castle wasn't conscious about this. An equation of healing versus the time you have. Daisy was getting worse. She fathomed a grasp into nonsense and went unconscious. We can't wake her with magic, the healing isn't enough to wake her. With more healing we'll just get punished. Diminishing returns, bombs of poison into too long in the room. We're losing her. 2 of them tried to revive, but she would not awake. Yensid sat on her face and farted so bad she woke up. It made cracks into the floor and broke the table. Daisy felt high on medicine and unsure of her consciousness. Why does everything smell like cabbage and socks? She would get on to live another 43 years. They were curious to open the next room. It had 1 exit north, but in the middle was a circular staircase down. There was a dresser full of javelins and spears and vulgars and a wooden cabinet. We're lucky it's a baguette cabinet. You don't need butter for this. A baguette is really fresh depending on the sound, if it is crispy. Yensid farted as she crunched the baguette. This must be one of the exits from the catacombs, said Osgaeth, a free room. The straight stairs went down smelling thus, webbed circularly, it went so far down like an infinite embark. The darkness told of danger like being blind and endless catacomb rooms, all light being limited to 0.5 meters. The door north opened into an abyss room with a 7 centimeters wide concrete path. It smelled more and the energy was different, something to interpret into a mistake. The serpent head shot arrows from both sides, pelting the party as they shared their shields. No giant hands protruded this time. They came across a larger room, especially in height as they fought only giant skeletons. One after another they swung, content to be alive and sin again. They came to a room with a little bit of food and drinks that looked like black orcish mead. It was the stuff they had also found in the Winnie cellar. They weren't too hungry and stuffed it into their pockets and leather bags thus.
Oops,
A wizard's beard kit. I would have given this as a present to myself. To give a present to yourself you have to be present. No one remembers my birthday, said Daisy. Wow, that's so sad, said James and burped into her ear. Sorry, what was that? I wasn't paying attention, Yen said. Let's go back to the cellar and drink again, said Cleric. I would do it, said Laos. Shut it, Clement, said Porpoise. Clement went with intention and Porpoise started wrestling with him. This is called a gachi hug, said Porpoise. I don't mind carrying things on my back. I don't feel a thing, said James, like an ESFJ would. There was also a detailed large chest. James melted the lock mechanism and opened. Phoenix feathers, rare and valuable, a wand, a silver bracelet with 10 huge emeralds. Pure gold coin with faces of dwarf kings, silver ingots and a vile brown poorly mixed with gold color. This is liquid greed, said Oswald, a tricky potion to make as it is valuable. Made from black unicorn horn and crushed black imp horns and double not on sale alcohols. It can turn anything steel or silver into gold, or diamond into onyx. Unless too large, it will work for about 3 meters in cubic. That's unicorn horn dust, that's messed up. Put it on the bracelet in it, said Osgarth. Save it for something larger, said Clement. Put it on your cock, see what happens, said Laos. This is the licorice wand of Greymane. I'll take this share, he said like an epic wizard. It tastes like licorice, said Clement. It tastes like liquor, said Laos. No, it's just black. The wand was XLL large with 3 protruding segments, slightly bent. Only the greasiest may wield this. It looked high tier. I am barely strong enough to wield this. It might drain more mana from me. You're so dependable and reasonable, James. We're gonna get through this, said Daisy. I'm reliable like an antiseptic. Oh, James, please shave my eyebrows, she said like a princess. Daisy started dying of thirst looking at James' buttocks, like Twitter thirst or texting her dog-esque. I'm texting my dog. James didn't mention that he used to compete in extreme wheelchair sports. You're really strong and cute at the same time, Daisy said meaningfully. You only want me for my biceps, cries a tear unexpectedly. No, I don't. Daisy contemplated a grand amount of things. James knew just how to stop girls like this. I like men, Daisy, he said in a deep voice. He lied though. Sometimes you have to lie about being straight. Daisy didn't know what to say. You weren't supposed to say anything like that, she said angry after a silence. You forced my hand, said James. Can we not have that kind of vague movie language in the book, please, said Daisy. Fine, excellent, said James. Can I at least get a grip around your waist? Try and see what happens. Daisy went relentlessly, thoughtless and hopeful. No, said James and slapped her hands away. When the girls are done, can we get going into the castle, said Yensid. I have a date with a hot orc. Castle depth 3. We're going deeper down in the deep. I love this sight of fountains and respite, said Porpoise. It came at just the right time. There was a red cement demon on the red cement door. Looks like it was going to be redder and hellish the mantics now. This gate is locked. I can't find a reason. Back away, let a master wizard do his work. Jens had put his ass on the lock mechanism. Not much farting came first, but then like an ignition giant, the lock mechanism turned into a white hole and with the sound of someone igniting propane. Propane mastery, said Yensid masterfully. Frequency and accuracy and balance is equally important. No one was following Yensid's line of thought. I think I got some pink AA from that. I feel diluted like mango and rum. Foggy dissonance, said Laos. I can cry with you if you want, said Daisy. Pull my finger, James, said Yensid. The party was like, do any of us actually dare to do this? Brave James pulled Yensid finger tough and coolly. The impact, power of an infinite asteroid, smashing through the planets, concentrated in 1 decimeter into my ass. Fart terrorist non-politically correct series, Hurt Locker. The walls and roof caved in like an earthquake. They fell like in an apocalypse movie. Yensid had farted a 3 by 3 room hole madness. The explosion was blinding and deafening and smelled like Summersby pear cider. Skeletons were falling in from above, confused, bothering their linear thought. The team was buried in beams, grey brick and darkness. Bravely, James was the only one who didn't regret it. He thought it was hilarious, a new direction. Daisy was screaming, her hair was on fire. It seemed she ran into a corner where the floor caved in, beams and blocks followed Daisy and her direwolf, and she impossibly fell. She landed on her direwolf and felt lost and like she has been existing for 4,000 years. She saw a torch ominously far away and one barely recognizable further, and lighted one of the stock torches they had from the beginning. It would be reliable. Guys, where are you? Can you get me down here? No one answered. She looked upon the faint light like apotheosis. I must be in the catacombs, sealed and forgotten. Zephyr the direwolf complained and warned her of something she did not understand. He still felt homey. They walked in huge corridors that seemed to split an ominous amount of times. She didn't think of marking anything. Remarkable the different paths seemed. Important. 4 orcs came 2 by 2. They mauled with maces instantly and she had to sidestep. Instantly the direwolf attacked. Eld everlasting, 5-star scorn. She took her time to accurately one-shot every orc. They were distracted by the wolf and barely reached her in time. You seem lost. You will never find a way out, said one. The wall seemed infested with white corpse eaters. She saw the danger now. It seemed impossible to go forwards. Maybe she was supposed to. Come, Zephyr. They ran faster than crawling madness and the consumption of life. I must find Ariana's thread, she repeated to herself, or I will never be found. I must use my intelligence stat. Zephyr looked at the taller Daisy with much deliberation. He accepted their fate quicker. We need to find a ladder up somewhere random in the castle, but then I still don't have my party. I need to deliberate a way out to survive. I don't want to die here, Zephyrs. He understood enough English. Better not use any fancy words, he thought. Let's camp around the entrance up for a while. Moments turned into hours as no help came. Strange. I'd expect one fool to fall down and get stuck. The direwolf was content with guarding and waiting, switching between orders, patience of a human. Are you from my group? Said a strange mage. No, I guess not. She seemed reluctant with her fire and direwolf. A strange contender, she said. I've been stuck here for weeks. That's whole and light there is new. Are you hurt? I have little food and drink. We were cursed to rot our inventory for everything alive, and teleported to random locations because our elder elf wizard teleported us into a wall, so we were teleported to random location. You didn't try to walk a ladder down, did you? What, no. He was skinnier, then he let on and thoughts barren. I've fought and skillfully depleted this place of monsters. There was treasure, gleaming points of treasure, fairly distributed. I can barely carry any more. He let down a sack and sat next to the fire. I am rich with nothing to spend it on. Can I buy some food and drink from you? Of course, you seem lost in endless questing. I shall not lose with my combat skills and table into fire forms. I could of course kill you and take all your stuff, he said meager. Eat for another few weeks while questing the area. They looked at each other for a second. Zephyr growled and attacked. As he reached for his two-handed staff, Daisy blasted short-range disintegration from her palm. He screamed as his thin life took a short time but surprisingly long to disintegrate. His skin turned brown as his robes fell into a pile. He is doomed. We're all doomed, said Daisy and regretted a bit. She turned into a milk-colored form and was sucked back into the hole in the abyss. Oh hey gentlemen, said Daisy, I was in the catacombs. We didn't figure that out at first. It was tricky teleporting someone through the catacombs. I had to lock onto your energy signature and abuse the hole into it, like a broken net, said Yensid. Skeletons were slashed into a rabble like something annoying you had to pay attention to. We haven't been upstairs yet. Different treasures lie above, said Clement. The roof has another smaller castle and is unexplored. Should we split? Asked Gregor aggressively and thought as long as his arm. I don't think so. It's dangerous enough in a team. A box 2 by 2 meters slowly unbalanced on a ledge above and broke on the floor. It was filled with ruby and silver treasure. The 6 huge rubies looked especially valuable, big as your fist. I knew that was going to happen. He didn't through. A boatload of hamsters started pouring from the room above. Before you could say microwave, there were hamsters everywhere. Don't step on the hamsters, said James. There is sin and there is gnawing. Yensid, do something. Yensid with air magic pushed most of the hamsters into the tax evasion and parking ticket dimension. The hamsters were very cute. Some were white and had large fangs, some 7 times the normal size. I shall keep this one, said James and cuddled on the belly of a hamster too huge. He put it into his pocket, feet up. The hamster didn't know what being a pet meant. Oswald and Gregor kept a hamster thus. They would follow them like a bookmark in life. A bookmark of progress. Beware, said Daisy, hamsters die brutally, it's never some normal shit. It's a curse. Those were hamsters, said Oswald, I have seen them in Ixalig, they thirst for blood and neck and live 7 years at least. Might overfeed. It is not the were hamster that appears with the first thing you have forgotten at home, yet do not need. The upside-down hamster in James' pocket thought it was very funny being upside down, he wondered how long this would go on. Jens had hurricane magic head with dust and leaves himself into the rooms above and looked around. Only the floors closest to floor 2 lead to the dragon's center, said Oswald. It is larger than a normal room. I suggest James look in the roof for additional treasure, Jens had said, floating down like a butterfly. There's more than enough treasure in the center, said James. We might not make it to the center, said Jensed. Jensed started eating a can of baked beans. What else do you have except baked beans, said Daisy. Chili baked beans and some raisins, plums. Suddenly Daisy came to a profound insight. It looked mathematical. Jensed, eat all your baked beans, said James with lots of energy, conceiving plans. I can fart incredibly independently of baked beans after a life like this. It might be hard to understand, said Jensed unnecessarily. Can you make a hole into the roof? These walls were designed not to smash through, he said, countering but true. There are bombable bonus rooms based on signs and language mastery. Most of our spells don't budget. What about an ass laser? James helped Jensed shaped like an upside-down L. The bird noises commenced channeling God Ra and then a bright white laser followed. Jensed screamed with power and the laser drained him, but his ass was strong. James' vision were deteriorated for 3 minutes, but he held tight on Jensed. Who knew how many layers were pierced into the roof? Now some hurricane magic, please people. I'm as magical as a lesser steroid unicorn, said Laos, and thus James was going through 25 stories up and up. Some rooms were larger than others. James saw glimpses of monsters and monsters of him. James thought about the Dicks Out for Harambe song and thought insanely or brilliantly about flashing his personal organs to the monsters flying by. Swish and flick, an unforgettable sight. He entered smoothly on the roof. This part of the roof was dark, eerie and enclosed with sharp fences of brightest moonlight. And moonlight lit the roof. Still, it was 200 by 200 meters maybe. The fences ended into a smaller castle shaped like a graphics card, unbelievably expensive. There were fountain statues of men raising a skull into the air, looking like theater people. The fountains spewed water for a meter towards each other. The ground glowed into a wave of starlight wherever he stepped. This seemed like holy or unholy ground. He didn't see them at first, but apparitions were closing in on him slowly. Some were very close. They looked like banshees with dead masks, floating above the ground slowly and with black tattered robes. They disappeared from view and could be seen again 3 seconds later, like there was a flickering lamplight. One was too close for comfort. It had drawn long broad blades, now silently, ready to kill. James zigzagged between apparitions towards the castle until something eerie told him to look back. A piercing will, a fire-red-colored banshee-looking, nay reaper-looking wide tattered and torn came floating towards him with a reaper's scythe. Its hood was empty and harrowing, floating 1 meter above ground with no legs nor robes covering them. This infernal presence froze James strangely in place for 5 seconds. He tried desperately to move, but couldn't do it, like in a fever dream. His instincts were on fire. He couldn't fight this. It was like looking down a red abyss into deepest hell. He ran towards the castle intently. Coming up towards the door, he smashed the lock and went in, shutting hopefully. There was a spiral staircase and a door. He decided upwards. Most banshees wouldn't go into the castle, and those that shifted in didn't go up the stairs. And the spirit from Ultra Hell, another plane, could not be defeated. A single orc assaulted him. Coming up into a corridor, James was barely fast enough to avoid the primitive axe. He was brown with brown armor and a small shield. He trashed the orc through the wall and out the castle mercilessly. Time was relative as the orc contemplated falling. He met a meek, long and tall orc with glasses thus. "What are you doing so far up here?" said the orc, hostile and concerned. "How did you fight the 300 werewolves?" "I didn't, there's the treasure in it." He trashed him out the wall. The castle had less dangerous rooms and more far between, like a bonus area or an unfinished expansion. He met more black goblins, but they seemed to tolerate his presence. They were analyzing in stuffy evil and considered him not threatening, but fluid. He came across an agility room. He dodged scythes and saw blades from the wall, pulled in his stomach between blades, did acrobatics. There was a huge water wheel he had to run upwards. It required all of his speed and more than he thought. Running like a muscle boss, he only advanced so quickly until he was at the diagonal top and exit. He found a chest. It opened into a platinum diamond silver key. "You have found the key that unlocks every chest in the castle," said the wizard voice, like telling a story, with an exception of allowance. It will only get better from here, James thought. Not far away, in a few rooms, James unlocked a seriously burly chest and found the Staff of the Sun, looking like bird-inspired, like a totem and like a whack of gold.
Alright, I'm
He
on
remembered from
potassium
Oswald
up.
thus, to merge the Sun Staff and the Dawn Staff would turn into something as valuable as something from the Dragon's treasure room.
I want something
In a
to
final room,
drink.
there was a giant Minotaur,
Damn it.
4 horns with a crown, dark fiery eyes with a giant 2-handed sword, broad and jagged. Behind him was an opulent door of gold and finesse that could only be the treasure room in
Look
this
at that.
instance. Well done getting past the werewolf's cur. This is the final challenge of this place. But not the dragon, Mr. Bull. Nay,
Sorry,
wait.
just like get
Is
a
there to
cup
be
of
someone
tea.
else here? Are you just on reserve duty? I want to fight Kerr, no more talking. The Minotaur blew fire from his nostrils, and went for a double spin with the sword and then a quick overhead. The Minotaur assaulted right, overhead, left, right overhead, left, right, leaving no time for retaliation. James dodged an overhead and uppercut the Minotaur into the air. The sword got stuck in the ground for a second and James smashed it into 3 pieces with impact grip. The half-sword was good enough for the Minotaur. They swung sword for sword, clashing like titans and never measuring strength. They clashed a final time swords and fists. Their strength was even, though James was smaller. The Minotaur headbutted with his horn like it was his third arm. James got hit and it made him angry. With impact magic he headbutted back, knocking the Minotaur into the floor, flipping down and hitting his head first. Another fiery swing from James destroyed the remainder of his sword and lit his bull hands on fire. Consider I have semester tomorrow, the Minotaur said in a deep voice. I don't even want to work for this guy. All this stuff about evil, decay and sickness cord. In semester you will find you a beat. James grabbed him by the horns and with the power of elf steroids. Steroid meteor. Jumped and knocked him out with the ground. He punched the door beyond. It wouldn't budge. It seemed to need a key into a giant golden hole that was probably here in the castle. He used fire magic to melt the lock mechanism. It seemed to resist him, but after 2 minutes of expert fire skills the door was hinging mildly. There was a gold view of treasure, swords of gold and silver and bronze, magical weapons, 4 giant diamonds and 3 onyxes, bars of mithril and adamant, restoration potions and restorative magical ale for ailments. He recognized a mimic in the middle of the room. He would not screw around with it. He carried the most valuable stuff he thought in his giant backpack, which was as large as him now. It was different, but he would get used to the weight as usual. He drank some magically balanced Odin's Ravens beer, making him feel grand, also by the very light taste, almost like cider. Beer really tastes something special if you wait a long time in between. A long time for James was 2 days. He went past the Minotaur and the staircase, out to the courtyard onto the castle. The apparitions were fewer and the Red Reaper was missing. They seemed sluggish as he went to his hole down and balanced the sack on his head. Down he went like a missile. His muscular legs crunched the ground, making cracks eventually in a wide stance. The air was easier to breathe here, like an easier level. Looks like the party had painted magical arrows for only him to see where they had gone. It was 3 rooms. For the 3rd time he went to find his party. Christ almighty, said Laros. They were in another ranged-only skeleton room, hitting the targets and dodging javelins. You are as greedy as my aunt, said Osgarth. James told them a bit about his adventure. Look James, why don't you teleport with our loot so far to the London base, then teleport back to Charred Woods? James got even more to carry. Put a shroud like of invisibility around me, Yensid, so no one bats an eye. James smashed a vial and was once again pulled through colours and space to London. He went to the tavern base feeling funny. He felt there would be disagreements later, so he told no one about, and hid the diamonds. He took 3 minutes just resting his buttocks on a chair and boots on a table, not thinking much and enjoying resting. It was all he needed. Oh look, another contemporary beer. He didn't realize he came into a frequency of peace, healing and wisdom he's been looking for, and when he was back in the castle after teleporting he was indeed sharper. His magical ability had increased his healing. James liked experimenting with aerobic brain-derived neurotropic factor training, keeping his heart rate as high as possible because the more blood his brain got as he was exercising aerobically, the smarter he got. James had gotten several IQ points smarter by being able to figure out how to get smarter. Dreamy. There was also a mushroom that looked like a lion's mane, curcumin in paparin and more brain blood through ginkgo tree leaves. These still grew, some like weeds, some common and homely, some frequent in another country. That's it.
Whoops.
He would teleport to these countries with the prize money and buy locally, or pick. Maybe this is the time to start learning teleportation. He also suspected plants that increased learning speed also made you smarter permanently, like Spanish sage, Sikianda, 3 types of ginseng, rosenroot and ashwagandha. That which you eat daily makes you smarter, like it's permanent, as well like Indian long pepper. He wasn't interested, he was intellectually eccentric. Food tore through his burning anvil of a brain as he remembered the way through the castle. James. Jams, said Oswald, mimicking the British. We could ask you to teleport out again. They were in a fiery coal, purple and teal crystal and magma room. This heavy shrine won't open unless we're outside the castle, could be troll gold. I can just carry it in my backpack, said James, or I can teleport just to charred woods and open it there. James in his resource-saving mode, permanent solutions over temporary, which he usually was. It isn't that far back here really, and we save a London teleport. Oswald put his palm close to the shrine, closed his eyes and said psychically, troll gold. James, who wasn't a bad psychic or spiritualist, also put his palm forth and felt deceit, falsehood smelly and trolls over gold like foot fungus over steak. James had sides of spirituality, calm, wisdom and peace, but they were introverted and not often seen. The mathematical introvert scientific planning and analysis side isn't seen in the ENTP, just like the unique magical moral world of inner feeling or any introvert side is. Many personalities thinks others, opposites aren't necessary and make no sense, can be ignored or superfluous like sulfur plus phosphorus. But balancing out your opposite, cognitive function, gives you wisdom and peace, like being a meditator. Like engaging in all 5 senses and the now, digging hands in dirt for the thinker. Teleport out. James opened the shrine easily after being outside in the insipid fog or hallucinating darkness, part of the evil just like the inside. The huge shrine revealed, troll gold, made out of blood bark and clay. Smelled like bad meat or good cheese, but also 1 diamond bracelet glimmering and 2 diamond rings that had 4 gold bridges leading to the diamond. Maybe we should use some of these for where he thought richly and practiced his rich man's laughter, HAAH. It was troll gold.
No,
ACHH.
can't find it.
Except the diamonds, James protruded like it was nothing. Diamonds makes everyone react the same way.
Maybe if I call
Jens
my
said, did you teach me how to magically find rare mental boosting herbs and roots? Have you turned to natural medicine, lad? That's expensive. If you promise to pick Spanish sage for me, I'll teach you Rouge's inner sight. It will highlight your roots. Yensid and James did highlighting magic to each other over and over while the party was chatting. Just coal in this room now, let's move on. Castle depth 4. There was only a fountain to restore health, 20% less when used on the same people and statues like goblin dragons with their tongues out. We could stock max health and not heal outside fountains. Great idea, James, said Oswald, in analytic time. They came into smoke with a faint glowing lava door. They wandered through darkness for minutes until they were scared to be attacked from any angle. Everyone, blast the door with your water, ice magic. The door roared and steamed. They stood for 30 seconds until it was black. SSSH, it is a cozy lair and respite for real black dragons. They're one of the strongest and immune to magic. They will always try to breathe fire on 2 people, said Oswald. How did I survive this last time, said Laros. James looked through a crevice at these magnificent, gleaming beasts. It was a huge cave with some man-made features the dragons liked laying on. There were baby black dragons with cute features like nose and eyes, like most mammals. Maybe this is the skipper room potion room. Maybe there's a worse fight we need to escape from. I'm not fighting this. They smashed the vial at their feet and ran invisible until the end. The walls were boiling lava and spouting madness. They enter into black rock and sometimes entire grey room like it laid coolly upon the carver. They came into a corridor that reacted to his moon key. Every wall from now in the castle might hold a moon casket. Use this headbutt technique on every wall. The spirit locked in non-spirit-like and smashed thoroughly. James copied the technique and sounded different while looking the same. Must be a difference in force. James, it's going to be rare. They were in the 3rd next room after winding corridors and curved darkness. It's supposed to be not for head diligence like this. James was starting to get dizzy. This was a hard wall. He kept going focused, sacrificing his head like a woodchucker. 3 times he went through a glowing wall and planks after the first headbutt. Did you use a headbutt to break this wall? Yes, wrote James. Revealed was a shimmering casket like dizzying. Only a really silly person would have used it on every wall. Here's your reward, said the necromancer voice fleetingly. The next room was an intelligence room. This is a deadly room, bane for warriors. All answers are close. Some answers give points that are close. Which mages are offering their cunning? Better get all answers correct.
Let me get another...
If you didn't figure it out yet, I have 145 IQ, said James. Do you really?
2 to 5 minutes.
Let me figure out the segments. Good luck.
It's just to lower the
Is
Tywin
intelligence
or
independent of
Twinnings
tests,
or
or does
whatever. It's
understanding the
not that
tests
good.
make you
It's just
smarter?
regular tea, you know.
First question, said a mage voice similar to the necromancer.
Yeah,
It is independent
yeah,
of tests
yeah.
until correct,
I'm
said
still
James.
standing.
Good answer. You would have got points for the other answer too. 150 IQ answer is next.
This
Look at these
is
symbols.
caramel, actually, not vanilla.
First it is white rectangle background and 2 black smaller square turns into 3 black, then 4. Second row, white rectangle background 3 black smaller squares, turns into grey background 3 smaller squares, then 2. Final row, white rectangle background 4 black smaller squares turning into grey background 4 smaller black squares. You have 3 choices here. 1/3 to be correct, said Daisy, rather stupidly. Grey background 2 smaller black squares. Grey background 5 smaller black squares. White background 5 smaller black squares. They are all incorrect, but grey background 2 smaller black squares is the least incorrect. Correct, said the voice. Next we have stone skipping that accelerates. The mage skips stones 7 centimeters 163680. What is the accelerating and average distance? The acceleration is 2 to the power of 2 and average distance 34.75. Use the average to cut a relative log. It is 175 centimeters. You can cut it an additional time without being long enough. How many times is it cut? Visually this cannot be shown. 34.75 times 5 plus 2x. It is correct. You are free to go. They came across a hamburger restaurant in the castle. It imitated a castle, half hamburger theme. 1 blood money to feed your team hamburgers.
I dare say
that's worth it, said Gregor. Maybe the vegan is going to argue against all of us eating hamburgers. Halloumi hamburgers are as unhealthy as meat hamburgers, and I said I used to be vegan. I eat 80% vegan now, or it's called being a terrible vegan. Contemporary vegan. The place was served by a variety of castle inhabitants, orcs, black elves, werewolves. You are a pussy if you haven't faced a werewolf yet, a werewolf said to Porpoise. He was ignoring the dishes. We are from the floors 2 and above. Floors upwards doesn't increase the difficulty. Porpoise held his fear unnoticed. Does it? 1 galactic cholesterol meal please, and 3 Texas barbecue burgers, said Gregor. Do you have vegan Texas barbecue, said James. And vegan chili cheese. Holy shit, James was getting vegan tinglings. Might as well eat vegan if they have it, and so proficient. Yeah, I agree, said Porpoise, and I'm ordering for the Fat Warrior too. Give me 3 vegan Texas barbecue, said Osgarth. I bet you trash those goblins with the 2-handed mace, said the werewolf. Her steel inquiring mace told the story of its symmetrical beauty, like a church. Why do you charge so much for the sides? Because we make the money on those. No one just order hamburgers and fries anymore. If you're a bodybuilder and you want to order hamburgers and fries on your diet, just get the
Water sure is healthy, it's better than Coca-Cola. But tea is water with antioxidants. And coffee is too, so that's even better than drinking water.
If you're a bodybuilder and you want to order hamburgers and fries on your diet.
Juice with added pure fiber from, like psyllium husk might be healthier than drinking water too. Coconut water is a way to get potassium, but just drinking normal stuff. But don't drink more than 1 liter. Gotta throw this away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where's Avantone? I don't have any Avantones, really. Oh, there it is. Woody fungus. Did say Woody fungus, didn't it? It's wrong name. Ash. That's okay, we can use that one later somewhere.
If you're a bodybuilder and you
right?
want to order hamburgers and fries on your diet, just get the hamburger. Do you have anything to say about my fries? Said Clement as they sat down.
Yay!
Well, let
It's
me
one more
think.
level.
If it were a purple potato, it would have antioxidants, plenty
Got
of
some bombs
potassium,
here.
until it's too much. Goddammit, let me enjoy my fries. I don't want to live long. People only say this when confronted by a vegan. I want to live short and well, not short and terrible. Health gives you quality and longevity.
Yeah.
Lettuce is for rabbits, said Porpoise, trying to keep James' arguments going. We are built to eat enough plants, 100 to 150 grams of fiber of plants per day, 7 times more than we eat. It's not every day we call it a mammoth.
Yeah, let's take
That's why we stopped making C vitamin like guinea pigs. Damn these modern times. Everyone eats what's normal. Some countries are healthier than others. Why do you have an argument for everything? Said Clement. There is a vegan argument for every argument. We hear the same things. You don't know enough about the game. I can't enjoy this hamburger if you keep talking about that. Surely you can enjoy that hamburger, it's the same meat as before. What's the strongest vegan argument then? Said Porpoise. Maybe that we think it's normal food, but it gives you heart disease, stroke, cancer, high blood pressure, diabetes, and is the main reason we die and 6 deficiencies. We don't succumb to age, we succumb to disease, and through age. I will think about what I eat, said Porpoise. I will never change what I eat just because you said that. That's childlike, honestly, said Daisy. The quality of this argument is getting lowered. You must enjoy being healthy, motivate yourself with statistics and feel not the taste always but the benefits like golden brilliance. I would follow the truth, I would at least be conscious of what I eat if I knew, said Gregor. The truth is very interesting. It's a hard life without health, you can get used to smoking and drinking and everything having resistance. With antidepressants and coffee you can do anything, said Porpoise. They came across a cozy tea and coffee room, prioritizing tea. There was a bugman with long moustaches down pointing with his hand cupped. It seemed pivotal that they chose a tea. Maybe he would attack them, mysterious as our fear manipulate. I choose the really red chai, said James. Potato tea with lavender, said Porpoise. They came into an everything you could need lounge, couches like Black Hills, sugary sweet bakery, all terrible, thought James, health mindful. Why does everything related to fika is unhealthy? A cultural habit can always allow worse decisions, concluded, his mind ready for another step, surprisingly, eventually. Cozy statues, castle lightning, different tables from different groups. There seemed to be their largest table occupied. A dead party sat with webs and spiders falling down the helmets. A knight raised his arm and mug and slammed like morose. What is the point of all of these healing spells? I take damage and die in the next room anyway. A plump knight except rectangular head, answered with healing ability and maybe other spells. Let's stay with the dark guests and insects ever interested in my body and siphoning my spell mind. I don't mind the assuming and gnawing, I feel capable, we can go on. They were all dead, bereft and hollow yet conscious and intent. You guys are dead. I'm not dead or bottomless for tea. I'm not dead either.
You wanna listen to the exciting end, the scary story, the presumptions, pilfering? We'll listen to that last part later. Let's listen to music. Oh yeah, I'm streaming to YouTube. Can't play music then. Alright, YouTube, come to Swedish Killer Rabbit on Twitch or Kick, and we can continue. Just it's a huge platforms for streaming, they're very fun, watching worlds, tournaments and stuff. Thank you, have a nice time. Can you believe